in order to mess up the blind date arranged by her mother. The girl even rubbed the sweaty smell of the horse onto her body. As soon as she sat down, she opened her clothes on purpose to let her blind date smell the horse's smell. However, during the conversation, Jae-hye's true nature revealed itself, which made Si-hoon admire her. The other party actually liked her and said that she was very real. Jae-hye never expected that her wishful thinking would fall through. In order to hide her embarrassing emotions, she quickly excused herself for not washing her hands and went to the bathroom. Alin followed Si-hoon to the blind date location, and Alin saw the whole scene. When she learned that her chaebol boyfriend had actually gone on a blind date without her, she hurried over to cause trouble. While Jae-hye was in the powder room, Alin deliberately smudged her clothes with mascara. Facing Jae-hye's accusations, Alin pretended to be very sorry and offered to pay compensation. Jae-hye did not accept the money and hurriedly left with her bag. When she came out to complain to Si-hoon, she received a phone call from a friend asking her to go to a party. She then went to her friend's house, took a shower, changed into clean clothes, and went to the bar. Unexpectedly, Jae-hye's skirt was torn by the suitcase. The man's suitcase also rolled to the side, and his clothes were scattered all over the floor. He ran to organize the suitcase without saying a word. Jae-hye complained that he was not a gentleman and did not apologize to her. Afterwards, the two friends sat together and drank. When their friends teased them about dating, Jae-hye received a call from her mother. Jae-jun, the youngest son of a chaebol family, refused to inherit the family business because he insisted on becoming a chef. His father was so angry that he kicked him out of the house. When Jae-hye returned home, her mother scolded her and asked why she didn't go out on a proper date with Si-hoon, but Jae-hye said that the man wasn't her type. She wanted to fall in love with the man she loved to death and get married, but her mother still wouldn't let go and kept nagging her to get married quickly. Luckily, Jae-hye was able to escape thanks to her father's arrival. The next day, Jae-hye returned home and accidentally heard her mother blurt out something during an argument. It turned out that she was not her mother's biological daughter. Upon learning this, Jae-hye found it hard to accept the truth. She hid in the car alone and cried silently. Jae-hye recalled her childhood and finally found a reason for her mother's indifference. That's why she kept pushing her to go on blind dates and get married as soon as possible. Even her mother was disgusted and didn't want to look at her anymore. Jae-hye is devastated and doesn't know where to turn. That night, Jae-hye and her father have dinner together at a restaurant. While chatting, she tentatively asks her father if he ever loved another woman when he was young. Her father slightly and seriously avoids the topic. After dinner, Jae-hye and her father walk past a doll shop. Jae-hye remembers the pitiful look on her mother's face when she begged for a doll as a child. Her father also thinks about this and then buys a doll for his daughter. When Jae-hye returned home, she couldn't sleep. She tried to find clues about her biological mother in her father's study, but she found nothing. Si-hoon took Alin to a luxury goods store to cheer her up. Her mother found Alin's expensive handbag and knew that her daughter could never afford it. Alin lied that it was just a prop for work. After a struggle, the two of them dropped the handbag to the ground. Alin ran out of the house angrily. In order to stop her mother from suspecting her, she took the bag to the counter and returned it. At that moment, two gorgeously dressed women walked in and asked the clerk to show them a limited edition bag. Seeing that she had been interrupted, Alin was very dissatisfied. Seeing the two arguing, she started to fight. The woman's mother hurried over to stop them. Alin angrily took the card from the clerk's hand and walked away. As she walked out of the store, she suddenly saw Si-hoon walking from the opposite direction. Alin was about to go up to Si-hoon when she saw him walking towards the two women. She was dumbfounded and realized that the man was Si-hoon's mother and eldest sister. Thinking about her own actions just now, Alin was filled with remorse when she learned the truth. Si-hoon went to Jae-hye for the sake of his family's interests and wanted to get to know each other better. Jae-hye heard from a colleague at work that someone had come to see her. When she looked, it turned out to be the chaebol's son. Her eyes were full of disbelief. Si-hoon also went straight to the point and said that he wanted to continue dating her, thinking about her adoptive mother's desperate desire to marry her off. Jae-hye, who didn't know the true nature of scum, nodded and agreed. The next day, Jae-hye told her father's friend about her knowledge of her background and hoped to find out about her birth mother from him. The uncle couldn't bear to see Jae-hye being deceived and told her everything he knew. In fact, back then, it was grandma who threatened to separate the two of them. After they were separated, Mom originally raised Jae-hye, but then for some reason she was sent to her father. But she doesn't know where she is now. After leaving, Jae-hye, who had gone to the restaurant, met Jae-jun again. Jae-hye couldn't stop the tears as she remembered what her father's friend had said. Jae-jun hesitated but then handed her a napkin. Ignoring him, Jae-hye left the restaurant directly. Jae-jun hurriedly chased after her and sent her home on the pretext that Jae-hye was in a bad mood. If you feel you owe me a favor, then let's call it even for the dress incident at the club last time. At the front door, Jae-jun and Jae-hye were seen by their father, who happened to be leaving the house. To avoid misunderstanding, Jae-hye hastily lied that Jae-jun was the designated driver. Alin discovered that Si-hoon, who had previously declined her invitation due to work, had actually brought a blind date to the musical. She was unwilling to lose her chance to become a wealthy wife. After the performance, as she watched her boyfriend thoughtfully see the woman off, Alin was so stunned that she could hardly breathe, so she went to a bar to drown her sorrows. Her appearance also made Sehun think that he was being followed. This made him extremely angry. Drunk Alin returned home and acted drunk at home. She complained that her mother had not provided her with a good family environment, so angry that Alin's mother wanted to hit her. The next day, Jae-hai found a scarf in the car. She remembered that it was left behind when Jae-jun took her home, so she ran to the store to return the scarf, to show her appreciation. Jae-jun prepares a new dish at the restaurant and asks her to taste it and give her opinion. After a busy day, Jae-hai sees the 6 stars left on the plate by Jae-jun. Jae-jun is so happy that he starts dancing. That day, Jae-hai receives a call. It turns out that Sehun's horse is sick. As a veterinarian, Jae-hai patiently diagnoses the horse and feels its breathing. Fortunately, it is just that the horse ate too much and is bloated. At this time, Sehun rushes over. Seeing such a gentle and virtuous woman in front of him, he couldn't help but be moved deep down in his heart. After finishing work, he asked Jae-hai to have dinner together. However, Jae-hai once again refused him on the grounds that she had something to do. Jae-hai found her senior and asked him to use his father's connections to help find her biological mother. The senior knew that this was not allowed by law, but he could not ignore Jae-hai's desperate pleas. Soon, Jae-hai and her senior met at Jae-jun's restaurant and got the news that her senior's father could not help. Seeing Jae-hai crying in front of another man, Jae-jun mistakenly thought that her senior was the man who abandoned her, and he deeply resented him. Sehun returned home and expressed his desire to marry Jae-hai, so the mothers of the two families met to meet. Jae-hai's father could not fully agree with the idea of rushing into marriage. However, the only person in this family who hoped that she would get married early was her adoptive mother. Just then, Jae-hai Sr. called with good news. Her boyfriend had been avoiding her. Alin had no choice but to go to Sehun's company and force her boyfriend to meet her. If he didn't show up, she would yell at the reception that she was his girlfriend. This threatened Sehun. He could only take Alin to a remote beach. A few days later, Sehun's mother asked Jae-hai and her daughter to meet her. She scolded Jae-hai for constantly making up excuses to refuse to go out with her son. She thought that she was stringing her son along. Sehun's mother defended Jae-hai, saying that her daughter is just a bit shy. Luckily, the ringing of a cell phone broke the awkward silence. It turned out that Sehun Sr. had found out where Jae-hai's real mother was. Hearing this news, Jae-hai's excited tears welled up in her eyes. After returning to the dinner table, Sehun's mother still wouldn't let up. She said that the people who like her son can be found all the way to Paris. Since you two get along, get married as soon as possible. Jae-hai didn't know what to say for a moment. After leaving, Jae-hai immediately asked her senior to go out with her. From the other party, she learned that her mother had not been doing well over the years. She gave birth to 2 daughters, but divorced her husband a few years ago. The senior comforted Jae-hai, asking if she was sure she wanted to meet her biological mother. Jae-hai's gaze was firm and she insisted on seeing her biological mother. The next day Sehun asked Jae-hai to go out for a walk together. Jae-hai asked if the life of a wealthy daughter-in-law was like what she saw on TV, with no freedom. Sehun immediately reassured her that it wasn't like that. In order to satisfy her adoptive mother's plan to marry her off as soon as possible, Jae-hai expressed her desire to get married in the fall. But Sehun was a little worried. It was only spring, but he happily agreed. On the other side, Alin had a fight with her mother and sister because she was not satisfied with the marriage partner introduced by her mother. Alin said that she wanted to live in the best building and ride in the best car. She now only wants to marry Sehun and become a wealthy wife. She is not interested in any other men. Fashion model Alin met Sehun's mother and sister again while at work. She was embarrassed after being recognized and wished she could immediately find a hole to burrow into. Learning that Sehun had already decided on a marriage partner, Alin instantly broke down. She was determined to marry into a wealthy family and become a wealthy wife. Unexpectedly, Sehun was going to marry another woman. She couldn't accept this reality. Sehun told her, "The two of us are dating in a contractual manner. You are my secret woman. We agreed that you would leave of your own accord after I got married." How could Alin give up so easily? Holding Sehun, she said she would wait until her brother got married before leaving. After returning home, Alin developed a high fever because of Sehun's departure. Sehun came to the restaurant to visit his brother and told him to listen to his father and return home to inherit the family business. Otherwise, his father would not let him attend his wedding. Alin specially made Sehun's favorite dish to bring him back. While Sehun was buying water, Alin found Jae-hai's number in his phone, and a perfect plan came to her mind. Meanwhile, Sehun's parents were furious when they learned that Jae-hai was getting married in the fall. Sehun's mother was even more displeased with her, and her father also firmly rejected the idea. "Since you've decided to get married, then hurry up and marry over here." The next day, Sehun's mother told Jae-hai's mother about this. She apologized immediately, but Sehun's mother was not satisfied and told her to tell Jae-hai to prepare for the wedding as soon as possible. The adoptive mother immediately found Jae-hai's father and told him about it. Her father thought that Jae-hai might feel that getting married so soon after knowing each other was a bit hasty, but the adoptive mother did not think so. She had already raised someone else's child for more than 20 years. Now she didn't want to see Jae-hai for even one more moment. Her father also felt guilty towards the adoptive mother in his heart and had no choice. In this way, The two families set a time to formally meet. The foster mother took Jae-hi to a clothing store to buy her some decent clothes, although she was reluctant. She had to do this to get Jae-hi out of the house as soon as possible. However, Jae-hi was in no hurry to get married and didn't care about choosing clothes. The foster mother was very annoyed when she saw her. At that time, she received a call from Si-hoon's mother asking for Jae-hi's date of birth. The foster mother panicked when she heard this and casually made up a date. She also looked at Jae-hi with a guilty conscience. Her adoptive mother still didn't know that Jae-hi had already discovered that she wasn't her real daughter. With the help of her senior schoolmate, Jae-hi found out where her biological mother lived. Anxiously, she took a photo of her and went to find her, but when her biological mother came out of the house, Jae-hi didn't dare to go up to her and confess. She could only follow her mother silently. Jae-hi felt that she was already very happy to be able to see her mother again. In the evening, she wandered unconsciously to the vicinity of her mother's house. Jae-hi, who was a little hungry, went to a roadside stall and happened to meet Jae-jun, who was preoccupied with his thoughts. The two colleagues, who were in the same boat, talked about their respective troubles. They drank from the roadside stall to the karaoke bar. While singing, Jae-hi suddenly remembered her birth mother. Because she didn't have the courage to come forward and recognize her, she was sad and shed tears. Jae-hi, who was singing with tears in her eyes, made Jae-jun suddenly lose his mind. What he didn't know was that Jae-hi was his sister-in-law. The two drunk people snuggled up to each other in the car. Jae-hi's adoptive mother was stunned when she saw them. Jae-jun explained that he was Jae-hi's friend and was taking her home because she was drunk. Jae-hi was carried back to her room by her younger brother. Her adoptive mother vented her anger on Jae-hi's father. If Si-hoon saw this, what would happen? Dad thinks that his daughter must not be able to accept getting married so soon that she went out drinking. That day Si-hoon asked Allin out and handed her an envelope full of money. He hoped that she would take the money and leave him alone. Allin pretended to agree, but she was unwilling in her heart. When they parted, she secretly dropped her earring in Si-hoon's car. At the horse farm where Jae-hi worked, Si-hoon proposed to her romantically. His proposal was successful, but he had to tell Jae-hi that her father did not allow his daughter-in-law to work after marriage. Si-hoon then drove Jae-hi home. When they got out of the car, Si-hoon accidentally found a lady's earring. Si-hoon lied and said that his sister had left it in his car. Jae-hi didn't think much of it and let Si-hoon get away with it. When he got home, his younger brother wanted to ask Jae-hi for pocket money and accidentally found his birth mother's photo in her bag. His younger brother jokingly ran around with the photo. Seeing his father coming, this completely angered Jae-hi. The younger brother sensibly returned the photo to her. Jae-hi angrily returned to her room. Dad asked what photo made his sister so angry. Miho said it was a photo of an aunt, and Dad never imagined that the person in the photo was Jae-hi's biological mother. Allin wanted to see Si-hoon again, but Si-hoon said he was going to meet his fiance's family at the weekend and hung up. After Allin heard this, his heart sank. The day the families of Jae-hi and Si-hoon met was very harmonious, but the youngest son, Jae-jun, was missing, and when Jae-jun arrived, he was stopped outside and not allowed in. He was in a bad mood, so he sent Jae-hi a text message but did not get a reply. So he went to sing the song that Jae-hi had sung in tears, and all he could think about were the images of his time with Jae-hi. Then Jae-jun went to the roadside stall where he and Jae-hi used to drink, and waited for Jae-hi to come home before remembering that Jae-jun had sent him a message. He went to the tavern and found him drunk. Jae-hi helped him pay the bill and sent him back to the store, worrying that he might have an accident. The two of them drank hangover tea late at night. Just then, his brother called Jae-jun. His sister found a check for 100 million in Allin's drawer. His mother questioned Allin about the source of the money. Allin lied and said it was money for signing a modeling contract. However, her mother did not believe her and questioned Allin if she was dating a married man, or what kind of man would give her so much money for no reason. Allin had no choice but to admit that her boyfriend was giving her a breakup fee because he could not marry her, and felt sorry for her. Her mother felt that this kind of dirty money could not be accepted, and Allin did not want someone else to snatch the wealthy wife to be away from her. In order to achieve her goal, she looked up Jae-hi's personal information on social media. Allin learned where Jae-hi worked and went to the horse farm to learn how to ride. She happened to see Si-hoon picking Jae-hi up from work. Si-hoon was so attentive and gentle with Jae-hi. This made her even more jealous. Allin secretly vowed to ruin the couple's wedding, so she sent Jae-hi a message. "Do you really trust Si-hoon?" Jae-hi was shocked when she saw the message. The content of the message also kept her up all night, because she really didn't know Si-hoon's character. Jae-hi wondered if she was making a mistake by getting married in such a hurry. At work, Allin sent another photo. It was the earring she had picked up in Si-hoon's car a while ago. Recalling Si-hoon's embarrassed expression that day, Jae-hi couldn't calm down for a long time. That day, Jae-jun learned from Jae-hi's friends that Jae-hi was getting married soon. He was shocked that he had never heard the other party mention it. Jae-hi, who had just returned, met Jae-jun, who had come to look for her, at the front door of her house, facing the first woman to make his heart flutter. Jae-jun questioned Jae-hi as to why she hadn't told him about getting married. While Jae-hi was completely unaware, Jae-jun could only sincerely wish her well when he saw the diamond ring on her finger. He turned away sadly, leaving a confused Jae-hi. Jae-jun, who had come home drunk, met Alan, who was also drunk. The two talked about their dreams. Alan said that her dream was to marry someone. The next day, Jae-hai received a wedding gift from Jae-jun. When she opened it, she found that it was a pair of dumbbells. Jae-jun said, "In case that man bullies you after marriage, I bought these for you to exercise and protect yourself." That day, Alan sent a text message to Jae-hai again. Jae-hai was distracted by the text message at work and broke the medicine bottle. The horse nearby was frightened and became uncontrollably agitated. Jae-hai fell to the ground and hurt her wrist. When she returned home, her foster mother saw that Jae-hai's hand was hurt and scolded her loudly for being so careless. What if it affects the wedding later? But she didn't care at all about Jae-hai's injury. The next day, Jae-hai mustered up the courage to ask Si-hoon if he had another woman. This caught Si-hoon off guard. After he recovered, Si-hoon told Jae-hai the truth that he had a girlfriend before, but it's all sorted out now. Seeing that the other person was so determined, Jae-hai did not ask anymore. On the other side, Jae-jun seemed to have been worn down after parting with Jae-hai. He made his best food, imagining that Jae-hai was sitting across from him. This scene was seen by the returning manager, who thought he had been possessed. Dad and Jae-hai also started rehearsing for the wedding day. Watching his daughter, who had been raised for more than 20 years, about to leave, his heart was also full of mixed emotions. He just hoped that his daughter would be happy after the wedding. After returning to her room, Jae-hai remembered Si-hoon saying that he had broken off contact with his ex-girlfriend. Thinking about her parents, who had gone to so much trouble for her, Jae-hai ignored the text message and deleted it directly. Alan thought that the messages she had sent could have an impact on Jae-hai, so she went to the horse farm and hid to eavesdrop. However, she heard Jae-hai and her colleagues talking about getting married. This made Alan feel very strange. She walked to the hospital building at the horse farm and saw an announcement that the staff were going on a trip this weekend. Alan, who was working out, seemed to be inspired after hearing the conversation of the people next to her, so she ran to the company to find Si-hoon. This made Si-hoon very annoyed. Alan asked him to give her one last chance, as if it were a breakup trip. Si-hoon was very resistant at first, but Alan said she would not come back again. He had no choice but to reluctantly agree. Si-hoon went to the horse farm where Jae-hai worked. In order to hide his whereabouts for the weekend, he lied and said he was going golfing with friends. On the weekend, Jae-hai and her colleagues went to the hotel, and Alan and Si-hoon followed and checked in. That night, Alan begged Si-hoon to go out with him for a drink. As soon as they arrived at the bar, he looked around for Jae-hai. In order to get Jae-hai's attention, Alan deliberately broke the glass. When Jae-hai saw her boyfriend with a woman, she couldn't believe her eyes. Her heart was in turmoil, so she called her boyfriend. Si-hoon lied and said he was playing golf with friends. Jae-hai couldn't believe that the person she was about to marry was spending the night with someone else. However, Alan was not ready to give up. Jae-hai, who was alone in her room, received a call from the woman. The phone was full of the woman's mushy love words. At this moment, Jae-hai's trust in Si-hoon completely collapsed. The next morning, she saw Si-hoon and the woman leaving together. She returned home sadly. Although Jae-hai didn't want to disappoint her parents, she hesitated and then proposed to her parents to dissolve the marriage contract. However, she really found it difficult to tell them the reason. Her adoptive mother fiercely questioned her. Her adoptive mother said that it was your blessing to be able to marry into Si-hoon's family. Her father patiently asked his daughter what had happened. Reluctantly, Jae-hai told the truth. She said that Si-hoon had another woman on the side. Her adoptive mother always believed that it must be a misunderstanding. She was determined to marry Jae-hai off as soon as possible. She didn't want to see the child born to this husband and other woman for even a moment. Dad came to Jae-hai's room and hugged his distressed daughter, saying he would not agree to this marriage. Jae-hai's father found Si-hoon and asked him if there was another woman. Si-hoon said he had taken care of it. Seeing the man lie again and again, Jae-hai's father said his daughter had seen it with her own eyes. This shocked Si-hoon, but he still said confidently that he would explain to Jae-hai. But Jae-hai simply would not give him the chance to meet Si-hoon's adoptive mother. On the other hand, wanted Jae-hai to give Si-hoon another chance. If you really want to call off the wedding, then you can move out and live on your own. Si-hoon went to where Jae-hai worked. He repeatedly emphasized that the woman at the hotel was only needing him to completely break up with him. Faced with a man who repeatedly lied, Jae-hai was extremely disappointed. Si-hoon emphasized that he would never let her down again. Jae-hai never wavered. Si-hoon's father, who knows nothing, likes his future daughter-in-law very much. He secretly booked a car and prepared to give it to Jae-hai. Jae-hai knows that the old man still doesn't know about that matter, so she has to keep saying no. But Si-hoon's father was not giving up. In that case, let's meet tomorrow at noon. Facing the request of an elder, Jae-hai had no choice but to agree. Jae-hai immediately told Si-hoon to find a way to resolve the matter himself. The next day, Si-hoon's father met with Jae-hai. He hoped that Jae-hai could give his unworthy son a chance to turn over a new leaf. He really liked this future daughter-in-law, but in the end, Jae-hye did not waver. Jae-hye asked Sehun to meet her and returned the engagement ring to him. Sehun felt deeply remorseful about his actions. He wished Jae-hye well and hoped that she would find a good man to spend the rest of her life with. Sehun could not get Jae-hye to forgive him. He went to a bar alone and drank his sorrows away. When he got home, he told his father about Jae-hye's decision to break off the engagement with him, using alcohol as an excuse. The next day, Sehun's mother asked Jae-hye's adoptive mother, "Your daughter is really something. Our president personally asked to meet her, but she wouldn't change her mind. Even if she wanted to marry into the family now, I wouldn't approve." The adoptive mother was at her wit's end. When Jae-hye returned home, her adoptive mother gave her a cold reception. "If you're really so stubborn and don't want to get married, I don't want to see your face. Go live somewhere else." On TV, kids your age are desperate to leave home and become independent. Jae-hye saw that her adoptive mother was not feeling well and went to take care of her, but her adoptive mother insisted and called the maid. Seeing her adoptive mother so disgusted with herself, Jae-hye understood what the other person meant. She volunteered to let her mother rest and recover, so she packed her belongings. Jae-hye looked at the room she had lived in for more than 20 years and tears came to her eyes. When she got in the car, she couldn't help but cry again. She moved straight to her birth mother's rented house and was ready to start a new life. Looking at her new room, although not as big as her previous one, she is exceptionally happy to be living with her biological mother. Jae-jun, who had been drinking with his brother, sends Jae-hye a text message. At this time, he does not know that Jae-hye is living right across the street. He is annoyed that he has been ignored again and again. However, in a huff, he says that he is going to wash up too. When he opens the door, he happens to meet Jae-hye, who just said that she was going to wash up. Jae-jun can't believe his eyes. He even pinched Jae-hye's body to prove that this time it wasn't his imagination. However, Jae-hye still didn't know that there was more than just Jae-jun living here. There was also the woman who had been behind Sehun's back. Alin thought she was dreaming when she saw Jae-hye appear in her house. She was so surprised that she didn't know what to do. She wanted to know why Jae-hye, who was about to get married, was staying in her house. Jae-hye also didn't know that Alin was the woman Sehun had been hiding. Back in her room, Alin repeatedly looked at the photos of Jae-hye on the computer and double-checked to get the answer. The person living in her own home was her rival whom she had tried every means to break up with, but she was still worried about whether her plan had succeeded. At the welcome banquet that night, Jae-jun left the restaurant and rushed back. During the banquet, Alin repeatedly asked Jae-hye about her marriage and boyfriend. Jae-hye firmly said that she was not married and did not have a husband. This surprised Alin and Jae-jun. Alin was secretly pleased to have received a satisfactory answer. Jae-jun next to him, however, looked confused. Sehun, who had been rejected, drowned his sorrows in alcohol. Recalling everything that had happened, he pieced together the whole story. He suspected that Alin had set it all up. That night, Jae-hye sat alone on a bench in a small park. Jae-jun also came here. After Jae-jun's questioning, Jae-hye revealed the reason for the marriage cancellation. Jae-jun immediately said that this was a deliberate act planned by someone, and Jae-hye also said that it was in the past and she didn't want to mention it anymore. Back at the boarding house, Jae-hye looked at the photo of her birth mother and her two daughters and was lost in thought. It so happened that her birth mother had brewed her a cup of tea and said that this would be more conducive to sleep. In her spare time, her mother also cared about Jae-hye's injured wrist, although it had already recovered. Her mother still thoughtfully helped her massage to unblock the meridians. This made Jae-hye feel exceptionally warm. Jae-hye was pleasantly surprised to meet Alin at the horse farm where she works. She warmly invited Alin to have tea with her. At that moment, Alin received a call from Sehun. Excited, she immediately rushed over. Sehun voiced his doubts about Alin, whether she had deliberately left her earrings in his car and deliberately taken him to the hotel where Jae-hye was staying. Alin quickly denied it. Sehun did not believe her. The calculating Alin went straight into the river for a cold shower. Sehun then took Alin to the hotel and asked the maid to dry her clothes before leaving. Alin walked up and embraced Sehun. At this time, Jae-jun took several large portions of the prepared dishes to Jae-hye's colleagues at work, which made the colleagues envious. Jae-hye rushed over to stop Jae-jun, who was about to leave, and asked him why he was delivering takeaway. Jae-jun said that he originally wanted to bring the pot over here and cook for her, but he was afraid that it would be too much for her, so he only made this. Watching Jae-jun leave, Jae-hye felt an inexplicable warmth in her heart. Back at the restaurant, Jae-jun was confronted by the manager and questioned about his feelings for Jae-hye. For the first time, he firmly said that he loved Jae-hye. After dinner, the two of them sat on a bench chatting and reminiscing about the various scenes of their encounter. Jae-hye remembers the first time she bumped into Jae-jun at the bar, and how he made her feel so disgusted. Taking advantage of the pleasant evening breeze, Jae-jun wants to ask her out for a hike on the weekend, but Jae-hye has already made plans with her colleagues to go hiking. When she learns that the male colleague is also going, Jae-jun silently prays that it will rain more on Saturday, and makes Jae-hye laugh. In the evening, Jae-hye is planning to go hiking with her senior, when Jae-jun called her. Jae-hye, who was drinking with her colleagues, hung up the phone directly. After the meal, Her colleagues wanted to call a taxi for Jae-hye. Jae-hye looked up and saw that Jae-jun was already standing in front of her. He also suppressed his dissatisfaction with his colleagues and warmly greeted him, offering to take him back. For a moment, his colleagues were flattered. The father searched for the address Jae-hye had given him, but instead he saw his former lover. The father followed him all the way to the doorstep of his birth mother's house, and was even more surprised to find that this was also where his daughter was boarding, and the birth mother also felt that she had seen her former husband. Alin came in and said that there was a very nice car parked outside, and the birth mother seemed to confirm even more that it was that person. That day, Jae-hye and her best friend were eating and chatting at a restaurant. Jae-jun came over and used his chef's scarf to tie Jae-hye's troublesome hair. The best friend was shocked to see the intimate actions of the two. She asked Jae-hye why she didn't face her heart bravely. Jae-hye bitterly said that she wasn't ready yet. At this time, Jae-jun came over again, and her best friend immediately offered assistance. Subsequently, Jae-hye was pulled out of the restaurant by Jae-jun. Under the cherry blossom tree, Jae-hye talked about her concerns. Just then, Jae-jun took the opportunity to suddenly kiss her. Alin's younger sister, who had returned from school, brought back fried rice cakes to prepare for a meal together. Alin suddenly felt a burst of nausea. Her sister even joked, "You're reacting just like the women on TV when they're pregnant." Alin then felt something unusual about herself, so she immediately went to the pharmacy and bought a pregnancy test kit. When she got home, she was shocked by what she saw. Alin was surprised to find that she was pregnant. She once again felt that she had taken a step into a wealthy family. The next day, she went to the hospital for a detailed examination. The baby was already 5 weeks old and very healthy. Jae-hye bought a lot of ingredients after work and made a lot of delicious food, but Alin couldn't eat it because of her pregnancy symptoms, so she left the table and looked at the baby's photo. She didn't know if she should keep the baby. Alin wanted to go to Si-hoon and tell him about the pregnancy, but Si-hoon always avoided her, so she could only send Si-hoon the photo. When Si-hoon saw the ultrasound photo, he was shocked and finally agreed to meet Alin. When she told him it was his child, his response once again disappointed Alin. Si-hoon firmly told Alin to abort the baby, and warned Alin not to use the baby as an excuse to see him in the future. Unexpectedly, Si-hoon never once considered marrying her. Alin saw Si-hoon's determination and sat down on the floor in pain. Unable to speak, she sat sadly alone in the living room. Jae-hye kindly asked about her health. However, Alin was not at all grateful. She even questioned whether she and Jae-jun were lovers or friends. Alin reminded Jae-hye that she knew Jae-jun's family was very wealthy. She finds it strange that Jae-hye knows that Jae-jun has an older brother, because Jae-hye doesn't know that Jae-jun's brother is Si-hoon. That night, Alin is still at a loss as to what to do about the baby in her belly. Suddenly, she receives a text message from Si-hoon, promising a large sum of money if she aborts the baby. He also offers to take Alin on a trip abroad to let her relax. This makes Alin no longer have any expectations for him. That day, Si-hoon's mother had a dream about having a child. Her daughter finds this very funny, but her mother still felt that it was an extraordinary dream. She just didn't know whose baby it was. Both of her sons had not yet found a wife. Her mother thought that her daughter might be pregnant, but she didn't know that she was having a dream about Si-hoon, her eldest son. Hearing her mother's words, Si-hoon felt very annoyed. Jae-jun took Jae-hye to the countryside to celebrate his 27th birthday. Along the way, the two of them could not hide their joy. They turned off their phones and put aside all their worries to enjoy this rare moment. This birthday was also a very meaningful one, because he found the woman he loved most in his life, and he spent his birthday with her. Enjoying a pleasant afternoon, the two of them went fishing in the river and had a great time. Then suddenly it started pouring. They took shelter in a tent. Jae-jun took out a pair of couple's rings and slowly put them on Jae-hye's hands. Jae-hye cooperated and put them on Jae-jun's hands. Then the two of them couldn't help kissing each other. At the boarding house, they learned that today was Jae-jun's birthday, and happily threw a birthday party for him, while Alin was alone in her room. Saddened, Si-hoon forced Alin to go abroad to have an abortion, but Alin didn't want to do it, so she had no choice but to come to Si-hoon's father, who confirmed that Si-hoon was responsible for what happened. Si-hoon told his father that he had told Alin from the beginning that she was not someone he could marry, because the two families are so different. He asked his father not to interfere and that he would find a way to solve it himself. His father was very angry at his son's irresponsible behavior and angrily told him to get out. After Si-hoon was scolded by his father, he angrily called Alin to scold her. He insisted that Alin abort the baby. After returning home, his father thought about it for a long time and still wanted Si-hoon to get married, but his vague words left his wife confused. His mother even thought that Si-hoon and Jae-hye had rekindled their old feelings. When Si-hoon returned home, her mother finally learned the truth, and immediately became furious. Alin actually wanted to use the baby to marry into our family. Si-hoon's mother persuaded Alin to give up the baby and find a good man again, because her actions had already disgusted men, facing the aggressive chaebol wife. Alin was adamant that she would not abort the baby. After returning home, Si-hoon's mother and daughter discussed the matter, and followed the address to find out, and were surprised to find that it was the same address where Jae-jun rented a room. Alin saw Si-hoon's mother and sister appear at her doorstep, and she panicked. not knowing what to do. Alan's mother had no idea about her daughter's situation, let alone the fact that she was pregnant. She had never imagined that her well-behaved daughter would do such a thing. And Sehun's mother's attitude was also very clear. Her son was the eldest son of a chaebol family, and he could not just marry anyone. Not to mention that Alan had directly caused her son to be rejected. They will never accept this kind of woman and demand that Alan must have an abortion. And I will give your family a certain financial compensation. Seeing that the woman was out of control, Sehun's mother angrily left. Alan's mother was very angry and sad. Her daughter actually coveted the family that was out of reach. She didn't want her tragedy to be repeated in the next generation, forcing Alan to abort the baby. But Alan just wouldn't listen and insisted on keeping the baby. Sehun's father insisted that Sehun take responsibility for his actions and marry Alan. Sehun's mother, however, was determined to prevent Alan from marrying into the family. The two had a major conflict. Sehun's mother was so angry that she lost her temper with her husband for the first time in her life. Sehun, who was upset, asked his younger brother to go out for a drink. Jae-jun could tell that Sehun was troubled. After repeated questioning, Sehun told his younger brother about Alan. Unexpectedly, his younger brother took the same attitude as his father and told Sehun that he must take responsibility for the woman. Sehun believes that a marriage that is formed because of an accidental pregnancy will not be happy in the future. However, Jae-jun firmly believes that a man should take responsibility for himself. Alan's mother clearly told Sehun's father, "My family doesn't want to have anything to do with your family. I will take care of my own child." However, Sehun's father still insisted that he was already planning the wedding. He hoped that it would be for the good of the child for them to get married. The father told Sehun to hurry and call Alan's mother, the mother-in-law. The old chairman gave Alan a sum of money to prepare for the wedding. He said that he agreed to the marriage not because of her but because of the child she was carrying. He told Alan to use the money to buy a good dowry. This moved Alan, who had tried so hard, to tears. Sehun's mother came to Alan's mother to discuss her husband's decision. Since she could not stop the marriage, she came to tell them in a strange way that the dowry needed to be the best. Jae-jun was very curious about why his mother was sitting with the landlady. He asked and found out that the woman who was dating his older brother was Alan, and that his mother was very unhappy about the marriage. However, Jae-jun believed that his older brother must take responsibility for this, and could only persuade his mother to accept the situation. Jae-jun told Jae-hai about his older brother's marriage, but he still didn't know that the woman who was going to marry his older brother was Jae-hai. Jae-jun persuaded his brother that since he had chosen to get married, he should treat Alan well, because Alan's mother was a very good person. Jae-jun asks Alan if she will really be happy married to someone with her mother's attitude. Alan is sure that she will wait for Sehun's approval. Jae-jun knows that Alan wants to marry her brother with all her heart and can only send her blessings. But Alan is scheming to break up Jae-hai and Jae-jun no matter what. Sehun has accepted that he has to follow the process of meeting the mother-in-law in order to get married. Alan's mother told Sehun that she couldn't ask for anything more now that things had come to this, and that she could only ask Sehun not to leave Alan alone. Jae-hai returned from work and saw Sehun's car parked in front of the boarding house. She hesitated, and didn't expect to see Sehun and Alan coming out together. Jae-hai then realized that the person Alan was going to marry was actually Sehun. Alan firmly told her mother that Sehun was not a bad person and asked her not to worry about her not being happy after marrying him. At the same time, she concealed the fact that she was the one who knew Sehun had withdrawn from the engagement. Recalling what had happened before, Jae-hai could not imagine that Alan was the one behind it all. What made Jae-hai most unsure of what to do was that her lover, Jae-jun, was Sehun's younger brother, the one who had withdrawn from the engagement. Jae-hai was worried that Jae-jun's parents might not be able to accept them together. She immediately told her best friend about it. Her friend reassured Jae-hai that as long as they loved each other enough, they could definitely overcome that mountain. It's the era of free love. No one has the right to stop you from falling in love. Jae-hai was very worried about Jae-jun because Jae-jun had already been kicked out of the house. If the two of them got together, Jae-jun's parents would cut him off. Jae-hai didn't want to see that happen. Her friend just felt that Jae-hai was too kind and even a little silly. Jae-hai sees that Jae-jun has called her because she hasn't returned home yet. Jae-hai says that she has been drinking and will stay at her best friend's place. Jae-jun wants to come and pick her up, but she politely refuses. Jae-hai can't sleep in the middle of the night and goes to the park to clear her mind. She thinks about her biological mother's daughter on the one side, and her boyfriend, who she has decided to spend the rest of her life with, on the other. This makes her heart ache. Alan is afraid that Jae-hai will tell Sehun that she is the one behind all of this. Sehun would never forgive her. At this time, Jae-jun asked Jae-hai to go to the movies after work. Jae-hai was very disturbed about her current relationship with Jae-jun. She refused on the grounds that she had to work overtime. This made Jae-jun a little disappointed. He waited at the door for Jae-hai to come home, but Jae-hai didn't know how to face him and could only avoid him. Jae-hai stayed at her best friend's house for several days. Jae-jun called to check on her and she had to lie and say she had to work night shifts. Jae-hai doesn't blame Alan for ruining her marriage, because it wasn't the man she loved, so there is no deep hurt. But how can she explain to Jae-jun Jae-hai feels that avoiding the problem won't solve it. She takes the initiative to call Jae-jun and arrange to meet. She proposes that she wants to move back home, although Jae-jun is reluctant. He can also understand Jae-hai's parents' feelings, so he can't stop Jae-hai. He said that Alan would be marrying his older brother soon. Why don't you come out for dinner and meet up? But Jae-hai was still unable to tell Jae-jun about their relationship, so she had to make an excuse and decline. Alan took the initiative to find Jae-hai and confess to her what she had done before. She hoped that Jae-hai could help her keep those things a secret. Otherwise, her precarious relationship could break at any time. Although Jae-hai was also very angry, she didn't want to make her mother sad, so she pretended to know nothing. With Jae-hai's promise, Alan felt much better. She didn't mind Sehun's attitude towards her at all, but at that moment, she suddenly felt that she was my younger sister. Looking at the ring that Jae-jun gave her, Jae-hai couldn't help but feel her heart ache. She really didn't want to be apart from Jae-jun, but fate played tricks on her. She had to take off the ring with tears in her eyes. Seeing Alan in person, Sehun's sister suddenly remembered that Alan had an argument with her in the store. The chairman decided to keep the wedding simple, inviting only close friends and family from both sides. The rest of the family also didn't want the wedding to be too grand. After meeting Sehun's family, Alan felt a little sad. She understood that she would not be able to gain their approval for the time being, and that she would have to rely on her own efforts in the future. That night, Jae-jun asked Jae-hai to write down the words she wanted to say to him on a wishing lantern and release it together. He thought Jae-hai was moved to tears, but Jae-hai only quietly wrote the words "I'm sorry." As the wishing lantern slowly rose, Jae-jun tightly embraced his lover. Jae-hai wanted to forget all her troubles by having dinner with her family, but her father had an accident and was in the hospital. The secretary informed her that a fire had broken out at the company, causing the ceiling to collapse and hit the chairman on the head. Upon hearing this news, Jae-hai's mother fainted instantly. Jae-hai also instantly lost her mind. She also no longer had the mood to answer Jae-jun's phone. Her best friend tells Jae-jun about her father's condition without telling Jae-hai, because she doesn't want Jae-jun to worry and she doesn't want Jae-hai to be alone at this time. Jae-hai is very surprised to see Jae-jun at the hospital. Jae-jun wants Jae-hai to go back and rest, but she is afraid that her father will die while she is gone. She can only beg the nurse to let her stay with her father for a while longer. She is really scared. Jae-hai's mother is so worried that she can't eat anything. She is afraid that her husband will leave her all alone. Jae-hai has to bear all this while comforting her sad mother. She is really a little exhausted. Jae-jun is also worried and doesn't know how to comfort her, but fate did not favor her. In the end, her father did not wake up. On the other side, Sehun's mother called Alan to her house and taught her various rules after entering the door. At this time, Alan suddenly felt a sudden pain in her stomach, which made her feel very uneasy. Alan hurried to the hospital for a checkup and found out that she had miscarried. The doctor comforted her, saying that she would be fine if she got pregnant again. Alan was afraid that Sehun would not marry her if she did not have a child, so she could only accept her friend's advice to hide it from everyone and get pregnant again as soon as possible after marriage. Alan's face was very pale due to the miscarriage. Her father-in-law scolded his wife for this and thought that she had abused Alan. The chairman's favoritism towards his daughter-in-law made his wife very angry. Jae-hai could not believe that her father had just left her alone like this. She really wants to believe that this is just a game and that her father can come back to her. Jae-hai's birth mother unexpectedly learns at the funeral that Jae-hai's father is her first love. She can't believe it's true. The reunion between mother and daughter happens at her father's funeral. Jae-hai clings to her mother in distress and cries out loud. After taking care of everything, Jae-hai decides to move back home, because she no longer has a father. Her adoptive mother doesn't know how to live, but her adoptive mother was determined to kick her out of the house. She couldn't tell Jae-jun that she was being kicked out by her adoptive mother. Jae-hai lied to Jae-jun that she was going on a business trip, because she couldn't show up at Sehun's wedding. She could only tell her father all her grievances alone. On the day of Alan's wedding, she put on a white wedding dress and finally married Sehun as she wished. The guests below the stage gave their sincere blessings to the newlyweds. Alan was so happy she could hardly speak. Sehun, however, could not be happy at all. Due to Jae-jun and Alan's relationship, Jae-hai had to stay at her best friend's place. She regretted not telling Jae-jun about her relationship with Sehun from the beginning. Now she could not bring herself to tell Jae-jun the truth. When she saw Jae-jun, Jae-hai broke up with him directly. Jae-jun did not understand why Jae-hai did this. Just because your sister Alan married my brother, we can't be together? Jae-hai couldn't say it. She was the woman who broke off her engagement with her brother. She could only beg Jae-jun to let her go. This made Jae-jun even more puzzled. On the other side, Alan's life was carefree and happy. They arrived at the honeymoon hotel happily preparing to celebrate with a glass of red wine. At this time, Sehun suddenly realized that pregnant women should not drink. Alan hastily explained that she was a little overexcited, and she didn't reveal the truth about the miscarriage. When Alan returned from her honeymoon, her mother wanted Jae-hai to get to know Alan and Sehun, but Jae-hai refused outright, as she would never show up. In the middle of the night, Jae-jun fell drunk at his best friend's house. Jae-hai was also very sad. Jae-jun didn't understand why Jae-hai had suddenly changed her mind. His best friend wanted to explain to Jae-jun, but she couldn't tell him the truth. She could only tell Jae-jun that it was because of Allen. Jae-jun was unwilling to let go and demanded that Jae-hai must give him a suitable reason. Allen called and forced Jae-hai not to appear at home and even asked her to move out. For a time, neither of the two families was willing to accept her. Jae-hai's mood instantly hit rock bottom. Allen got up early every day to study various cuisines and serve her mother-in-law. She was worried that her family-in-law would find out about her miscarriage and be swept out of the door. Allen lives on thin ice every day. Jae-jun tells Jae-hai's mother about Jae-hai being kicked out of the house. He wants to beg his aunt to persuade Jae-hai not to break up with him. Seeing a man who loves her daughter so much, Jae-hai's mother is also very happy. At the same time, she is also very worried about Jae-hai's current situation. Her mother doesn't want Jae-hai to give up the people who love her. Jae-hai really wants to say it's because of Si-hoon, but she really can't let her mother take this blow. My mom said that as long as you are happy, I don't mind if I lose you. Jae-jun still couldn't accept it. He asked Jae-hai if she really decided to give up. Does it mean that they have to break up just because Sun-hun got married? Jae-jun would rather Jae-hai say that he fell in love with someone else than give this reason. Jae-hai said, "Then just think that way." Jae-jun let Jae-hai go, but on the way back, Jae-hai was already in tears. She also didn't want to part with that man. Jae-jun cried a lot and decided to move out of the rental house, because there were too many memories of the two of them here. Jae-jun, who had broken up with Jae-hai, was in a state of confusion, and he could only vent by desperately pounding on the pot at the restaurant. No matter how the manager tried to persuade him, it was useless. The chairman attached great importance to the fetus in Allen's belly, and even brought her books for pregnant women to study. This made Allen even more worried that the truth would be revealed. She could only think of ways to keep the pregnancy going. Allen lied that she went back to her parents' home and found her friend to help her, but her friend also couldn't help her. She had to solve this problem herself. It so happened that Allen ran into Jae-hai, who was returning from work. She directly questioned Jae-hai, "Don't you feel annoying for not returning home and always living in someone else's home?" But Jae-hai firmly stated that she would not move. She promised not to tell Si-hoon the reason for the engagement breakup and asked Allen not to be so uneasy. Seeing Jae-hai's attitude, Allen is speechless. Jae-jun is sad and comes alone to the place where he camped with Jae-hai. He recalls the happy times he spent with Jae-hai, and he also makes an important decision. Jae-jun is going to leave home and go abroad. He needs to go somewhere else to heal his wounds. His father is angry with Jae-jun for not enjoying the comforts of home but instead going out and getting into trouble. But Jae-jun just won't listen to him. Allen is still worried about Jae-jun's relationship with Jae-hai, and chases after him to ask about their current situation, only to find out that he and Jae-hai have broken up. Jae-jun sends a message to Jae-hai telling her that he is going abroad. At this time, Jae-hai doesn't know how to respond and is feeling bad inside. She suggests to her colleague that they go out for a drink after work to vent their emotions. A drunk Jae-hai coos to her mother that she feels so tired and miserable. Her mother can only comfort her in her arms and tell her to hang in there a little longer. Meanwhile, it's time for Allen's regular prenatal checkup. She needs to get the ultrasound of her unborn child back to show Si-hoon. Si-hoon is so considerate that he even sends a car to take her there. This gives Allen no chance to think of another way to get it done. She can only ask her best friend to come to the hospital to help. Her best friend suggests to Allen that they borrow someone else's ultrasound picture to trick Si-hoon. She successfully helped Allen get an ultrasound picture, and Allen finally felt a little more at ease. That day, Jae-hai was at work when she suddenly received a call from her younger brother. A large group of people came to the house and caused trouble. When Jae-hai rushed home, she found that it had been a mess. Jae-hai's mother had lost consciousness due to the shock and was admitted to the hospital. Jae-hai learned from the company's financial officer that since her father's death, there have been problems with the company's operations. The family is now bankrupt, and even the assets in her mother's name are about to be seized. Jae-hai's mother, who had just come to, was very sad. The series of blows had almost caused her to have a nervous breakdown. All her life, she had not been able to live comfortably because of her heartache. Now she had to suffer such humiliation. Jae-hai also really felt particularly helpless. Without her loving father, she also lost Jae-jun. Now she had to bear all this on her own. Jae-jun's time abroad was about to end. He didn't want to delete all the messages he had with Jae-hai. In the end, he even deleted Jae-hai's phone number. He wants to forget Jae-hai completely. Lucy learns that Jae-hai's mother has been hospitalized and that her father's company has been frozen. The manager, who had stayed overnight at her house, rushes to the hospital without delay. Jae-jun learns that something has happened at Jae-hai's house and chases after Lucy to ask about the situation. Then, without regard for anything, he goes to find Jae-hai. After being discharged from the hospital, Jae-hai takes her mother and temporarily stays at a hotel. This is not a long-term solution. She starts looking for a house everywhere. Jae-hai finally found a nice place to rent that wasn't expensive, but her mother just wouldn't live there. She was so angry that she couldn't help but scold her mother. What else did she want? Jae-hai sat down on the floor in despair. Just when Jae-hai was at her lowest, Jae-jun appeared in front of her. She couldn't believe the person who appeared before her. Allen tried hard to get pregnant, but she never got pregnant. Seeing that she couldn't hide it anymore, She had to create the illusion of a miscarriage. Si-hoon received a call from Alan's friend and rushed over as soon as he heard that his wife had been admitted to the hospital. Alan told Si-hoon with pain in her heart that she had just been preparing to go to the movies when she accidentally discovered that she had miscarried. She kept apologizing to her husband. Si-hoon was convinced by her sincere performance. Si-hoon asked his mother to prepare seaweed soup for Alan to drink. This angered his mother. Alan's mother-in-law scolds Alan for not being able to protect even a child. Si-hoon tries to defend Alan but is also scolded. Alan laments that everything was going so well. Her father-in-law is also very angry with Alan for losing the baby. The baby they had finally gotten was gone. He is so angry that he also scolds Si-hoon. Jae-hye's younger brother begs his mother not to oppose living in a small house because they can no longer afford a big house. And it was her mother who drove her sister away in the first place. How could she make things difficult for her now? Finally, her mother listened to her. Jae-hye was very happy. She would stay with her mother and brother, but her foster mother still wouldn't let Jae-hye live with her birth mother, as long as she paid her living expenses and her brother's tuition fees on time. Jae-hye wanted to stay by her mother's side and take care of her, but the other party simply didn't want to see her. In the end, Jae-hye had to agree. Her foster mother also demanded that she leave right away. The senior learned that Jae-hye was looking for a part-time job to take care of her adoptive mother and younger brother, so he asked Jae-hye to come to his hospital every day after work to help out. This was definitely a good thing for Jae-hye, although it solved part of the problem. It was still far from enough. Jae-hye found her best friend and hoped that she could buy her own car. When she learned that it was because of helping her adoptive mother, Lucy felt sorry for her. Back then, she so ruthlessly drove you away, and now you have to take care of her? Jae-hye always believed that she had raised her for more than 20 years and that she should repay her. Her mother-in-law was very upset about Arun's miscarriage, and now only her youngest son could comfort her. Jae-joon accompanied his mother out to dinner and accidentally ran into Jae-hye's mother, so he went up to greet her. Jae-joon wondered how his mother knew Jae-hye's mother. He then realized that the person who broke off the engagement with his eldest brother was Jae-hye. Jae-joon couldn't believe his ears, and Jae-hye's various reactions finally made sense. He always thought that Jae-hye just didn't love him, so she could give up so casually. It turns out that Jae-hye had such a big reason to suffer. Lucy knew that even if Jae-joon knew the truth, it wouldn't change anything, because Jae-joon's family would never accept Jae-hye. Lucy helped Jae-hye explain a lot. Jae-joon thought about it for a long time and finally made up his mind to go back to Jae-hye the moment he was about to walk through the boarding gate. Jae-hye was always distracted at work and kept saying to herself that the person should be on the plane by now, and then she turned around and saw Jae-joon right in front of her. Alan can finally sleep peacefully, and her husband even thoughtfully got her a car. Only her mother-in-law was fuming there. She had been unhappy about Alan buying a car. She kept saying that none of them gave her any peace of mind. Si-hoon told her mother that her younger brother had not gone abroad, so that she could worry less. Alan's mother made a pot of soup suitable for pregnant women. Unexpectedly, Alan told her mother that she had had a miscarriage. Fortunately, her mother-in-law did not make things difficult for her daughter, which made her feel somewhat relieved. Alan was surprised to learn that Jae-joon had not left, and asked Si-hoon why. She then learned that Jae-joon had stayed for Jae-hye's sake. Her mother was very happy that Jae-joon was not going abroad, but she never imagined that her son was doing it for a woman. Jae-joon did not tell his mother that Jae-hye was the woman he loved. He could only tell her that he would not let her down in the future. Seeing Jae-hye working while having a nosebleed, Jae-joon really could not bear to watch. He hoped that Jae-hye could quit her job, because he had promised in front of Jae-hye's father's funeral altar that he would take care of Jae-hye for the rest of his life. Jae-joon directly resigned from Jae-hye's job to the dean. He believes that as long as they love each other, they can overcome all obstacles. He hopes that Jae-hye will also have enough confidence that he will tell her family at the right time. Alan gave up going abroad for Jae-joon and asked Jae-hye to confirm. She is the one who least wants Jae-hye and Jae-joon to be together. She is determined to break them up. Alan hopes that Jae-hye can stop Jae-joon from being with her, but Jae-hye can no longer stop Jae-joon. She can only follow Jae-joon's wishes. This makes Alan start to fear again. It's Alan's mother's birthday. Learning that both Jae-joon and Jae-hye are there makes her very uneasy. Alan questions Jae-hye why she must watch her misfortune. Jae-hye doesn't want to hurt Alan. She hopes Alan can rest assured, but Alan just doesn't believe her. She even blames Jae-hye for being too selfish and forcing her to leave Jae-joon. This makes Jae-joon, who is standing nearby, feel very puzzled. Why does his sister-in-law, who he has always respected, want to destroy his happiness? After the birthday party is over, Jae-joon rushes to call Alan. He says that he already knows what his sister-in-law has done. For him, Jae-hye is the most important. If his sister-in-law hurts Jae-hye again, he will tell his brother about what his sister-in-law has done before. Hearing Jae-joon's words, Alan became even more uneasy, and after a few days of peace, her adoptive mother began to pressure Jae-hye to come over immediately, because she found out that the previous nanny in the family lives nearby. It was even more unacceptable to her pride. Her adoptive mother didn't consider Jaihai's difficulties at all. She just kept pressuring Jaihai to move out. Lucy was also very angry that her adoptive mother had done such an unreasonable thing and made Jaihai so tired. She desperately persuaded Jaihai to sever ties with her adoptive mother. But Jaihai couldn't do that. Lucy could only persuade Jaihai to let her adoptive mother move to Jaejun's apartment. Alin has been very uneasy since hearing Jaejun's words. She is afraid that Jaejun will tell her husband the truth, so she called her best friend for help. Unexpectedly, her mother-in-law suddenly pushed the door in, which startled her. When her mother-in-law saw Alan's nervous expression, she thought she was talking behind her back. It turned out that her mother-in-law was curious about the girl Jaejun was dating, so she wants Alan to ask Jaejun about it. She is afraid that she will get another daughter-in-law who doesn't satisfy her. Her best friend suggests that Alan let Sehun see Jaejun and Jaihai together. This may make Sehun stop them from getting together. That day, Mina is going to the movies with Jaejun and Jaihai. She wants to borrow her sister's pretty clothes, so she calls her sister. Alan heard that Jaihai was going to the movies with Jaejun and a plan came to mind. She asked her sister about the location and time of the movie. Alan told Sehun that she wanted to go to the movies with her. Sehun felt that she had not spent enough time with Alan after they got married, so she agreed to her request. Once inside the movie theater, Alan looked around. When she saw Jaihai and Jaejun appear in the lobby, she excused herself to buy snacks. Sehun also sought his younger brother with Jaihai in the cinema. Just as Alan had wished, the intimate actions of the two made Sehun guess their relationship. He was momentarily confused and didn't know what to do. Seeing that her goal had been achieved, Alan was very pleased. She even pretended to be unaware and went to watch the movie. Sehun was in no mood to lie anymore. He said that there was an urgent matter at the company and hurriedly took Alan away. After returning, Sehun called his younger brother to his office. Without saying a word, he went up to him and slapped Jaejun hard. Sehun tried to persuade the kind-hearted Jaihai. Jaihai said that she had done all she could. She only cared about Jaejun's choice now. If he was going to let go, she would leave. Sehun told his younger brother that he had already told Jaihai to break up with him. Jaejun was afraid that Jaihai would choose to give up on him again, so he planned to take Jaihai to meet his parents. He took Jaihai to the front door, but his brother punched him hard. His brother warned him not to do this. Jaejun still insisted on his own way, but Jaihai backed down. She didn't have the courage to go in. Feeling tired, Jaejun talked with Jaihai about going abroad to live together, but that was only a temporary escape. Jaihai told her mother about her relationship with Sehun. This made her mother feel surprised. She couldn't imagine that there would be such a coincidence. Her mother knows that no parents would approve of this marriage. She wants to know if Jaihai loves Jaejun so much that she would give up her own life, because she knows that this road is not an easy one. Jaihai says that she loves Jaejun so much that she cannot leave, and the family next door is making a lot of noise. This is really unbearable for Jaihai's adoptive mother. She once again asks Jaihai to move. There is no way that Jaihai can do this, so she takes her adoptive mother to her mother's house. Her mother is really a bit surprised. Facing this benefactor who has helped raise her daughter for more than 20 years, she didn't know how to thank the other person. Alan saw that the last plan didn't work, so she pretended to remind her mother-in-law to introduce Jaejun to a girlfriend. But her mother-in-law knew that her son had a favorite person now, but she was curious why she couldn't bring him home to meet. Her mother-in-law asked her eldest daughter to secretly investigate the girl Jaejun was dating. She wanted to know what kind of girl had enchanted her son. Alan overheard her mother-in-law asking about Jaihai and got so distracted that she burned the food. Her mother-in-law gave her a severe scolding. In a fit of anger, Alan called Jaihai again and threatened her to break up with Jaejun. Now her mother-in-law wants to investigate her, but Jaihai is calm. She has decided not to run away anymore. Mina unintentionally mentioned the movie that day. Jaihai then realized that Alan had once again staged a scene. She deliberately let Sehun see her with Jaejun. Lucy saw that Jaihai was in such distress and happened to bump into Sehun, wanting to talk to him. This took Sehun by surprise, because he didn't know Lucy at all. Lucy wanted to beg Sehun and his wife to stop bullying Jaihai in turns. Sehun was at a loss as to what to say, seeing that Sehun knew nothing about it. Lucy told Sehun about the callback from the hotel and the text message about the earrings. This shocked Sehun so much that he couldn't say a word for a long time. He never imagined that the woman by his side could be so vicious. Although Jaihai's mother didn't approve of Jaejun and Jaihai, Jaejun still decided to take Jaihai to meet his mother. The mother happily went to Jaejun's date. Unexpectedly, the girlfriend Jaejun introduced was Jaihai. No matter what Jaejun said, his mother found it hard to accept and then got into the car and drove away. Although the two were prepared to face this situation, Jaihai was still inevitably a little sad. Jaejun could only comfort Jaihai on the side, and promised that he would be able to convince his mother. Sehun printed out the call history to confirm what Lucy had said. He had still had a glimmer of hope for Alan, but the moment he saw the result, Sehun was completely disappointed in her, and never imagined that his wife's heart was so devious. He once asked Alan if she had deliberately dropped her earrings in his car, and deliberately chosen to stay in the same hotel as Jaihai, and Alan even wanted to prove her innocence by dying. Sehun, who was upset, went home drunk and ignored Alin even more. Alin thinks Sehun is acting like this because he doesn't approve of Jae-hae and Jae-jun. The next day Alin goes home and forces her mother to get rid of Jae-hae. But her mother thinks she is the one who ruined Sehun and Jae-hae's marriage, and Jae-hae is also her daughter. She will never get rid of Jae-hae. Seeing that her mother-in-law is asking her eldest sister to investigate Jae-jun's girlfriend, her husband is ignoring her, and her mother-in-law is refusing to get rid of Jae-hae, which made Alin feel very scared. When Sehun returned to her room, she pretended not to know anything and wanted to ask for details. Sehun ignored her and walked away. When her father-in-law returned home, Alin realized that her husband had gone on a business trip, but her husband didn't mention a word to her. When she called, no one answered. At this time, Alin was extremely scared. She immediately called Jae-hae to ask questions, but Jae-hae was in no mood to deal with Alin. She was already very worried about her own situation. She hung up after a few words. Alin was so angry that her head was about to explode. Jae-hae suddenly felt dizzy while working and fainted in the horse stable. Fortunately, she was taken to the hospital in time and was not seriously injured. Seeing her so pale and weak, Jae-hae's mother's heart ached. Jae-hae couldn't help but feel sad when she returned home. She couldn't get Jae-jun's mother's approval and was humiliated like that. The mother-in-law is full of anger and has nowhere to vent it, so she takes it out on Alin. It's all because of her that things have turned out like this. The mother-in-law asked her daughter for advice on how to separate Jae-jun and Jae-hae. In the end, she decided to call Jae-hae's mother. Jae-jun is willing to give up his dreams and work in his father's company in order to be with Jae-hae. He takes Jae-hae to meet his father and asks for permission to marry her. This sudden request really surprises the old man. Jae-jun says that if he can marry Jae-hae, he can agree to whatever his father wants, but his father still doesn't agree. Sehun sees his brother at the company and scolds him for telling his father like that. He and his mother have been hiding it carefully. The chairman is very angry to know that he is the last to know. He can only vent his anger at home at his wife. His mother-in-law, on the other hand, blamed him for driving his son out of the house, which had led to the current situation. The next day, Jae-jun appeared again at his father's office. His father was furious when he saw him, but Jae-jun said that he would listen to his father unconditionally from now on. He would give up being a chef and return to work at the company. This made the old father feel doubtful. Jae-jun repeatedly assured him that he really would listen to his father unconditionally. His father was very happy to hear Jae-jun's promise. He asked Sehun to arrange for Jae-jun to work in the catering department. Sehun is deeply puzzled by his brother's actions. He is not sure whether Jae-jun is waiting for Jae-hae to accept him or whether they are breaking up, but his father has made it clear that he will not approve, and Jae-jun is prepared for a long battle. He will do his best to get his father to allow him to marry Jae-hae. Alin wants to stay by Sehun's side, so she wants her mother-in-law to persuade Sehun not to let her go back to her parents' home. Then she can stay there without any problems. But she didn't expect her mother-in-law to approve of her son's actions. Alin could only go back to her parents' home for a few days to hide. Not only did she not realize her mistake, but she also blamed Jae-hae for meddling and ruining her. Her mother was furious and scolded her. That day, Sehun's mother found Jae-hae. She would not rest until she heard Jae-hae say that she would break up with Sehun. Jae-hae understood her feelings, but she could not give her a promise. Sehun's mother was so angry that she poured water in Jae-hae's face, publicly humiliated Jae-hae and forced her to say she would break up with Sehun. This made Jae-hae feel very embarrassed. Jae-jun had been wandering for many years and finally decided to go home. He stood in front of the door and felt a lot of emotion. He believed that through hard work he would be able to move his father and get his approval for marriage. Jae-jun returned home, and no one was happier than his mother. Her son finally didn't have to suffer outside anymore. She carefully prepared a new set of clothes for her son. She hoped that he could forget all the unhappy things and start over. Jae-jun put away the couple ring that he had promised to Jae-hae, hoping that he can wear it again when his father approves of him. On the other side, Alin was very angry that her husband had driven her back to her parents' home. She kept waiting for Jae-hae to come back, and forced Jae-hae to tell her if she had told Sehun. But Jae-hae didn't have the energy to argue with her, and could only say that her friend had accidentally told Sehun. But Alin was not convinced and insisted that Jae-hae had done it on purpose. Jae-hae told Alin that she was not as vicious as she was, and deliberately let Sehun see her with Jae-jun. This made Jae-hae really unforgivable. Mom heard the two of them arguing and rushed over. Seeing her daughter in such a difficult situation, Jae-hae's mother felt guilty. She could only ask Jae-hae to bear with Alin a little more. The mother-in-law is also puzzled by Sehun and Alin's relationship. Her son has been drunk every day recently and doesn't talk to Alin, but she doesn't want to ask and pretends to know nothing. The mother-in-law thinks that she is very happy to be able to have dinner with her two sons. Seeing Jae-jun obediently go back to work makes her mother's heart completely at ease. That day, her daughter told her that Sehun seemed to regret marrying Alin, and Sehun often gets drunk, which really makes them feel suspicious. Alin's mother could only seek Alin's understanding and warn her not to let Sehun regret marrying her. Father prepared a new car for Jae-jun to commute to work. The first thing he did was to find Jae-hae. He wanted Jae-hae to be the first person to ride in his car. Sehun saw that his younger brother was dating Jae-hae again. He wanted to warn Jae-jun to break up as soon as possible and not let his parents know. Unexpectedly, Alin overheard their conversation. Jae-jun believed that his older brother would not tell their parents about their affair. The next day Si-hoon gave Alin the divorce papers and there was no room for negotiation. That night Si-hoon moved to another room and lived on his own. Alin had no choice but to rush home and beg her mother for help. But her mother was also completely disappointed in her. She also had no face to go to her son-in-law for help. Her mother even said angrily that Alin should just fend for herself. That night Si-hoon confessed to his parents that he wanted a divorce from Alin. His father couldn't believe his ears. His mother also came over to ask if Alin had made him angry again. Under the parents' questioning, Si-hoon could only say that there was no longer any trust between the couple and they could no longer live together. Alin helplessly cried out the truth about her miscarriage before marriage. This made the mother-in-law unable to accept it and she was so angry that she could hardly breathe. No matter how his father persuaded him, Si-hoon insisted on divorcing Alin. His sister was also very surprised after hearing the news. She never imagined that her brother would file for divorce because of this lie. Alin begged her sister to help persuade Si-hoon. But this time Si-hoon was stubborn and wouldn't listen to anyone. When he got home from work, he saw that Alin hadn't signed the divorce papers yet. Alin sincerely begged her husband to believe in her again, but Si-hoon couldn't forgive her for repeatedly lying to him. He told Alin about all her previous misdeeds. Hearing about her daughter-in-law's shameful deeds, her mother-in-law was so angry that she went into the house and threw Alin's clothes on the floor. So angry that she went into the room and threw Alin's clothes all over the floor. Alin knelt down and begged her mother-in-law to forgive her, but there was no way to calm her down. She threw Alin's luggage down the stairs. The loud noise in the house made the head of the family realize what had happened. He couldn't accept his daughter-in-law anymore either. Before going to work the next day, Si-hoon told Alin that she hoped she wouldn't see her when she got back from work. Mom immediately asked her aunt to get rid of Alin as soon as Si-hoon left for work. She didn't want to see Alin again for even a moment. Mom really regretted not having stopped Alin from the beginning. Now she was even more worried that her family would become a laughingstock in the chaebol circles. Alin left her in-laws' home and went to the beach where she often met Si-hoon. She thought about the happy times when they got married and cried loudly. Jae-jun found Jae-hae and told her that Alin had been kicked out of the house by her brother. Jae-hae is worried about Alin, so she goes home and asks her mother about Alin's situation. But her mother obviously doesn't know yet, so Jae-hae immediately calls Jae-jun to tell him that Alin hasn't come home. She's afraid that Alin might do something drastic. At this time, her mother also receives a text message from Alin, which says, "Mom, I'm sorry." She's worried about her daughter and immediately calls, but Alin's phone has long been switched off. Her mother asks her daughter's friends for help in finding her, but they can't get in touch with her either. Jae-hae and her mother were at home, frantically searching for her. Meanwhile, the grief-stricken Alin slowly opened the bottle, but even such a selfish person could not bring herself to do it. She wanted to make the person who ruined her happiness pay a painful price. In a bad mood, Alin drank alone. She returned home drunk. Jae-hae kindly came over to help her, but when she saw Jae-hae, she became even more angry. Alin blames Jae-hae for all her misfortunes, and she is afraid that one day she will lose control and kill Jae-hae. Jae-hae never imagined that Alin would hate her so much. When her mother saw her daughter in such a difficult situation, her heart was very sad. She could only send Alin back to her room, seeing her daughter tormenting herself without eating or drinking. In the end, Alin's mother still found Si-hoon regardless of her pride, and asked him if there was any way to turn things around between him and Alin. Si-hoon firmly refused with a single word. This result was also something Alin's mother expected. She had no choice but to leave. Recalling Si-hoon's mother's arrogant and domineering appearance, the marriage between unequal families made her guess her daughter's treatment in her in-laws' family. Her mother's tears could not stop spinning in her eyes, but no matter what her daughter did, she would always remain her child. The next day, the two of them met to go through the divorce procedures. After they came out, Si-hoon told Alin to hate him if she wanted to. Alin told Si-hoon that perhaps she didn't love him that much after all. She just fell in love with his ability to turn her from Cinderella into a princess. But she still wanted to know if Si-hoon would still marry her if he knew she had an abortion before marriage. And Si-hoon had never wanted to marry her because his father insisted. Alin got her answer and let go. She could finally live for herself. Alin, who had seen through everything, was ready to embrace her new life. Jae-jun's mother, who was worried about her son's marriage prospects, saw Jae-jun's childhood friend returning from abroad and couldn't help but be dazzled. She was the perfect daughter-in-law in every way, whether it was family background, appearance, or education. Jae-hae and her best friend were shopping when they ran into Jae-jun's mother in the elevator. Jae-hae was worried that Jae-jun's mother would find out, but the two of them were laughing and chatting as if they didn't care about anyone else. Hyeon asked Jae-jun's mother about Jae-jun. Jae-jun's mother said that her son has not found a girlfriend because he has been waiting for her. This made Hyeon very happy. Jae-hae felt very uncomfortable when she heard Jae-jun's mother talking to the girl, and her best friend felt like someone had tapped her on the back of the head. Jae-hae pretended to be fine, but at work, she was always distracted. The woman in the elevator was always in her mind. That night, Jae-jun came to pick Jae-hai up from work and told her about his childhood friend who had returned to the country. They had gone to a restaurant and had dinner together. Jae-hai guessed that Jae-jun had met the girl. Looking at Jae-jun's happy expression, Jae-hai's heart was full of jealousy, but she had nowhere to vent it. How long could a relationship that was not accepted by parents last? Jae-hai also felt tired at heart. Jae-jun and Jae-hai were both very troubled. The small park where the two of them used to be happiest has now become a place they long for when they are unhappy. The exhausted Jae-hai has to put up with her adoptive mother's nagging when she gets home. She thinks that everyone in the rental house is targeting her. Jae-hai wants to remind her mother that you are no longer a chaebol lady. She hopes that she will stop living the way the rich do, but she is scolded by her mother instead. Should she live humbly just because the company went bankrupt? Jae-hai really doesn't know how to comfort her mother. Jae-jun's mother invites Hyun to dinner at their home. Both parents like the girl from a good family. The cheerful and generous Hyun makes Jae-jun's family very happy. Although Jae-jun pretends to be happy on the surface, he is sad inside. His father also hopes that his son can like Hyun. He also asks Jae-jun to accompany Hyun shopping. That day, when Jae-jun's secretary came to see him, she told him that the chairman had come to see Jae-hai. Jae-jun finally understood why Jae-hai had ignored him. He immediately came to apologize to Jae-hai. He knew that he shouldn't have lost his temper with Jae-hai. He didn't expect his father to find Jae-hai in private. He was sorry for making Jae-hai feel bad. Jae-hai just listened without saying anything. He asked Jae-hai what she thought. If his parents never agreed, let's secretly get married. But Jae-hai disagreed with that. Jae-jun said he was willing to wait until the day when his family agreed. Seeing Jae-jun and Jae-hai happy together, Alin was furious. After Jae-jun left, Alin warned Jae-hai that she had messed up her marriage. She would never let Jae-hai and Jae-jun get together. Jae-hai didn't understand why Alin had to be against her at every turn. However, Alin just wouldn't listen to her advice and insisted on treating her like an enemy. Jae-hai, who saw no hope, secretly closed her phone and was overcome with sadness. Jae-jun had no choice but to wait outside Jae-hai's house. Facing Jae-jun's concern made her feel even more painful. Jae-hai had no choice but to tell Jae-jun. She can only tell her mother that I met the chairman today, and I promised him that I would break up with Jae-jun. Learning that Jae-hai must break up with Jae-jun made her mother feel even more pain than Jae-hai. Jae-hai can understand Jae-jun's father's feelings, and she doesn't want to do anything to hurt their hearts again. But she can't break up with him. She can only choose to leave Jae-jun. Jae-hai applied to work at a ranch in Jeju Island. Her best friend also tried to persuade her to reconsider, but Jae-hai still decided to leave this place that made her sad. Although her best friend Jae-hai left, she could only choose to support her. Her daughter's birthday, the mother even forgot about it completely. But the landlord of the rental house had prepared a table of food early to wish Jae-hai a happy birthday. This also surprised the people in the rental house. She explained that it was the identity information she wrote down when Jae-hai rented the house. This made the adoptive mother a little embarrassed. Alin also did not forget to come over and say a few cool things, telling them to cherish today's gathering. Next year, Jae-hai will have to spend her birthday alone on that faraway island of Jeju. The tenants suggested that next year, they could all go to Jeju together. They all had a great time together. In the evening, Jae-jun asked Jae-hai out to celebrate her birthday. He even specially chose 2 identical mobile phones as a gift. Jae-hai opened the phone and the first text message was from Jae-jun. Thank you for appearing in my world. Seeing all that Jae-jun had done for her moved Jae-hai. She didn't want to ruin Jae-jun's good mood, so she put on a happy face. When she got home, her mother kept nagging her about not going to Jeju Island, which made Jae-hai's already painful heart even more troubled. After much thought, she decided to break up with Jae-jun. Jae-jun was very happy that Jae-hai had something important to tell him, but Jae-hai's words sent him into a deep freeze. Jae-hai formally proposed to break up. She could not be selfish and only care about her own love without considering the feelings of her family. Her explanation did not gain Jae-jun's understanding. Jae-jun angrily forced Jae-hai into the car. He didn't know what to do for a moment. Jae-jun angrily drove the car. He also angrily accused Jae-hai of not being able to say the words of breaking up. Jae-jun did not notice at all the truck speeding towards him from the opposite direction. Luckily, Jae-hai noticed in time and chose to block Jae-jun's path at the critical moment. Because of Jae-hai's protection, Jae-jun was not seriously injured. Mom then let go of her worries. The first thing he wanted to know after he woke up was Jae-hai's current condition. He begged his mom and brother to go check on her. Jae-hai had just undergone surgery. Although the surgery went well, she was still in a critical condition. Si-hoon was also shocked to learn about Jae-hai's condition. He didn't dare to tell his brother the truth and could only tell him that Jae-hai was safe. Mom silently prayed in her heart for Jae-hai to wake up as soon as possible. Her nervous attitude towards Jae-hai made Alin very curious. She hated seeing her mother care about Jae-hai. His father knew that Jae-hai had saved Jae-jun's life by risking her own. This made him admire Jae-hai very much. Jae-jun couldn't wait for the moment when he could see Jae-hai again. He went to Jae-hai's bedside and begged her to wake up soon. If Jae-hai sacrificed herself to save him, he couldn't live on alone. Jae-jun's father came to visit and felt a little guilty when he saw that Jae-hai still hadn't woken up. On the way back, he made a difficult decision. However, instead of saying anything grateful, Jaejoon's mother blamed Jae-hai for her son's condition. Jae-hai's mother got angry and started arguing with her. Seeing Jae-hai lying on the hospital bed like that, Jae-joon felt like his heart was going to explode. He decided to go abroad with Jae-hai after she woke up. However, his idea was severely scolded by his mother. But Jae-joon didn't want to make Jae-hai sad in the future. That night, Jae-joon had a nightmare. In the dream, Jae-hai was unable to save him, and it woke him up in a cold sweat. He regretted being so impulsive and pulling Jae-hai into the car. Now he could only pray that if one of them had to go, it would be him. Hyeon rushed to the hospital to visit and comfort Jae-joon. She was especially moved by their relationship. She even began to envy Jae-hai. Allin scolded Jae-hai's adoptive mother for not staying with her daughter and letting her mother stay in the hospital. This time it angered Jae-hai's adoptive mother. But Allin's mother's kindness to Jae-hai really made the adoptive mother feel strange. Fortunately, with the favor of Lady Luck, Jae-hai finally woke up, and the first thing she asked was about Jae-joon's condition. She was relieved to learn that Jae-joon was fine. Hearing that Jae-hai had woken up, Jae-joon came to visit despite his weak body. These past few days have been like years for him. Finally, there was some good news. Jae-joon told Jae-hai that he had decided to take her with him to live abroad, and had already explained his wishes to his eldest brother and mother. But Jae-hai did not agree with Jae-joon's idea. She could not let Jae-joon do something that would make her parents and eldest brother sad, and she also believed that the car accident could not change the fact that the two had broken up. Watching her mother and younger sister busy themselves with Jae-hai's affairs, while no one paid any attention to her own unwell body, Allin hated Jae-hai even more for stealing her family. Jae-joon's mother warned Jae-hai to stop seeing her son, while her husband blamed her for what happened. Jae-joon's father has come to terms with the accident, and Jae-hai's behavior has finally convinced him to give his blessing to the marriage. Jae-joon hugs Jae-hai and cries happily, feeling that all the despair and pain in his heart has finally been overcome. Jae-joon's mother is beside herself with joy at her husband's approval of the marriage. She can't understand the kind of feelings her son has for Jae-hai, which are more important than life itself. But Jae-hai's adoptive mother is not at all happy about the wedding. She really doesn't want to see Jae-joon's mother's ugly face again. Allin's mother, on the other hand, is truly happy for Jae-hai. Allin can't believe her ears when she hears her mother and aunt discussing Jae-hai's wedding. She never thought that stubborn old man would agree. For Allin, Jae-hai's misfortune is what makes her happy. At that moment, she received a call from the hospital. It turned out that she had felt unwell and had gone for a checkup. The results confirmed that she was 8 weeks pregnant. For a moment, Allin was at a loss for what to do. She decided to tell Si-hoon about her pregnancy. Si-hoon hung up as soon as he saw her incoming call. He didn't want to have anything more to do with this woman. But Allin was persistent and sent him another text message, telling him that it was very important and they must meet. Si-hoon had no choice but to go. Unexpectedly, Allin told him that she was already 8 weeks pregnant, but Si-hoon didn't believe her and thought that the woman was up to something again. Allin thought that Si-hoon would be so cruel to her and became so angry that she wanted to drink to get the baby to miscarry. But in the end, she couldn't bring herself to do it. Mom doesn't understand how long Allin is going to torment herself. Jae-joon is overjoyed and is ready to formally introduce Jae-hai to his parents. Her mother can't stand her son's childishness and reluctantly agrees. Jae-hai returns to the family home but in a different capacity. It's a little difficult to adapt. She doesn't know how to feel. Jae-joon can see Jae-hai's anxiety and just hopes that she can be comfortable and face it with an open mind. Si-hoon refuses to answer Allin's phone calls. Allin has no choice but to threaten to go to the company and find him. Si-hoon finally answered the phone and told her to stop talking about the baby. Soon after, Allin called again. Si-hoon was very angry. He didn't realize that it was Allin who had fainted and called. He asked a passerby to help Allin to the hospital. After she woke up, Allin went home by herself. Her heart really hurt. Jae-joon's father, in order to protect Jae-hai's pride, considering Jae-hai's current family, decided to cancel their wedding and the gift-giving ceremony. This made Jae-hai's adoptive mother very unhappy. She felt that even rich people can be so stingy. But Jae-hai was very grateful to the chairman for all he had done for her. Allin wanted to use the baby to make the chairman agree to her getting back together with Si-hoon, but she had already forced Si-hoon to let him marry Allin, so this time he would not do anything to make his son suffer. You two should discuss this matter yourselves. Facing the family's cold-heartedness made Allin's resentment grow deeper and deeper. She found her best friend and began to plot again, but her best friend also advised her to give up, in order to keep the baby in her belly. Allin began to take good care of her body. In the face of Jae-hai's concern, she only felt that it was all insincere. At the same time, she also warned Jae-hai that marriage was just the beginning. She would still return to that family, and when her mother was packing Allin's room, she accidentally discovered her ultrasound photo. Her daughter was pregnant again. This surprised her and worried her. She didn't know what her daughter wanted to do and had been hiding it from her. Jai-hai also began to prepare for the wedding, and even suggested to her mother that she should make Jai-hai work hard. Her mother immediately called Jai-hai over and selected a high-end bedding style that she liked, and also designated a store where Jai-hai could have her clothes custom made, so that Jai-hai had to prepare the gifts as she wished, and also prepare a gift for her daughter and Si-hoon. Jai-hai frankly explained the situation to her mother-in-law, that she had no way of meeting her requirements, so she wants to carefully prepare the right gifts for them. There is no way her mother-in-law can but reluctantly agree. Mom has been waiting at home for Alan to come back and interrogate her about her plans. Alan says she wants to give birth to the baby and remarry Si-hoon, but when she learns that Si-hoon doesn't care about her at all and doesn't agree to her daughter giving birth to the baby alone, because it's really hard for a woman to bring up a child alone, she has no choice but to force Alan to have an abortion. But Alan is determined to give birth. Facing her mother-in-law's nitpicking makes Jai-hai feel very uncomfortable. She can only pour out her heart to Lucy. Jae-joon comforts Jai-hai, saying that she will get her mother's approval, and selects a nice dressing table for Jai-hai to give her. Jai-hai's adoptive mother is very angry at her mother-in-law's nagging, and she can only complain to Jai-hai, which makes Jai-hai feel even more uncomfortable being caught in the middle. Si-hoon and Hyeon go to the countryside for a walk together at the weekend. Alan hires a private detective to investigate the woman's identity, and kept a close watch on Si-hoon and the woman's every move. When she learned that Hyeon was an employee of Si-hoon's company and often visited Si-hoon's home, she was extremely angry. At the same time, she was also full of resentment towards Jai-hai, and disdainfully smashed the gifts Jai-hai had given her. She wanted everyone who had hurt her to pay the price. Soon it was the big day of Jae-joon and Jai-hai's wedding. The guests in the audience also sent their sincerest blessings, and the happiest of all is the best friend who received the bouquet of love. Friends escort the two on their honeymoon. Lucy also said thoughtfully that she had prepared sexy pajamas for Jai-hai. This made Jae-joon look forward to it. Jai-hai and Jae-joon arrived safely in Paris and reported their safety to their families. Hearing Jae-joon call her mother-in-law, she was so moved that she couldn't speak. She felt that it was already a great blessing to be able to watch Jai-hai get married. In the evening, the two of them lie in bed together, looking forward to a happy married life. Jae-joon and Jai-hai return from their honeymoon and go back to their parents' house. The tenants have prepared a grand welcome ceremony for the newlyweds. Mom even prepares Jai-hai's hanbok in advance so she can wear it. Her luggage and her adoptive mother also feel very emotional, telling Jae-joon to treat Jai-hai well in the future. She knows that Jai-hai will not have an easy time in their family. Alan is very unhappy to see Jai-hai so happy in her family. She hurled a torrent of abuse at Jai-hai. Jae-joon couldn't believe that that was her former sister-in-law. When they returned home, the two of them bowed to their parents, but the mother-in-law still treated Jai-hai coldly. She didn't agree with Jai-hai continuing to work after marriage. She told her to be a housewife and serve her husband well. This made Jai-hai a little embarrassed. Fortunately, the father-in-law expressed understanding and decided to wait until Jai-hai got pregnant before she quit her job. Knowing Si-hoon and Hyeon drinking together made her mother-in-law think of matching the two up again, but she didn't know that her son was currently very troubled in his heart. Si-hoon was very troubled about Alan getting pregnant. That day, Jai-hai's adoptive mother ran into an old friend when she went to the hospital to get medicine. She then learned that it was rumored that she was trying to get her daughter a rich husband so that she could live a better life. Her adoptive mother had never been humiliated like this before. She couldn't stand it and almost fainted on the road. When she heard that her adoptive mother had fainted, Jai-hai put down her work and ran to pick her up. She then realized that her adoptive mother had heard the gossip. No matter how Jai-hai comforted her, it was useless. Her adoptive mother was someone who could not bear to hear any gossip. On the other hand, Alan was also busy. She was unhappy when she saw a photo of Si-hoon being intimate with a woman. She went to the woman's house to warn her not to bother Si-hoon anymore. She was already pregnant with Si-hoon's child. Hyeon tells Alan that she has misunderstood her relationship with Si-hoon, and that the two are just friends. She tells Alan to resolve her conflict with Si-hoon on her own. Later, Hyeon tells Si-hoon about Alan's visit. This makes Si-hoon feel ashamed and he apologizes to Hyeon. Then Si-hoon angrily takes Alan to the beach, and without saying a word, slaps her hard. Alan secretly vows that she will never let go. If she can't have him, she'll destroy him. She won't stand by and watch Si-hoon with another woman. That day, Alan saw Hyeon with Si-hoon and slapped Hyeon directly. Hyeon was inexplicably beaten. She asked Si-hoon to drink with her to make up for herself. After 3 rounds of wine, Hyeon took the opportunity to confess to Si-hoon, and even rushed up to kiss him directly. Si-hoon and Hyeon grew up together. He only treats Hyeon like a little sister, but Hyeon feels differently. It makes her sad to see Si-hoon suffering like this. She feels that Alan is not even worthy of Si-hoon's love. Si-hoon doesn't respond to her, and right now, he's not in the mood to get into a relationship. Ever since she confessed her feelings, Hyeon has noticed that Si-hoon has been deliberately avoiding her, so she comes running to tell Si-hoon's mother that she likes Si-hoon and that her parents are very happy with him. Si-hoon's mother was very happy to hear this, because Hyeon is the daughter-in-law she thinks is most suitable. Regardless of her family background or appearance, she must do her best to seize this opportunity. That day, Jai-hai didn't want to eat because she had indigestion. Unexpectedly, This attracted another scolding from her mother-in-law. But this time, not only did her husband and son speak up for Jae-hae, Sehun also spoke up for her. Seeing this, her mother-in-law had to shut up. On second thought, she thought that perhaps Jae-hae was pregnant and that's why she felt unwell. Since Jae-hae had promised her that she would stop taking the birth control pill, she hurriedly took her for a checkup. The doctor said that Jae-hae was not pregnant, and the mother-in-law bought a lot of tonics for Jae-hae to take. Since the nanny at home had taken leave, Jae-hae was in charge of dinner, and the mother-in-law was waiting to assess Jae-hae's abilities. Jae-jun thoughtfully wanted to help Jae-hae cook, but his mother did not agree, which made Jae-hae, who was cooking for the whole family for the first time, particularly nervous. Fortunately, her father-in-law didn't criticize Jae-hae's cooking, and praised her, saying that she really did a good job and that everyone should try it. Her mother-in-law didn't have much to say either, just admitting that it was barely edible. Jae-hae finally got everything under control, but she began to feel guilty about hiding the fact that she was adopted. Jae-jun wanted to share some of the burden with Jae-hae. In the morning, he got up early to help her prepare breakfast, but his mother caught him in the act. The mother-in-law scolds Jae-hae again, and blames her son for why a man is in the kitchen. Fortunately, Jae-jun knows how to appease his mother, and the argument ends. But what happened next made the mother-in-law completely disgusted with Jae-hae. That day, her senior asked Jae-hae to help out, and was afraid that she would be late for dinner, so he kindly walked her home. But a motorcycle was speeding up behind them, and her senior hurriedly pulled Jae-hae away. Unexpectedly, this scene was seen by the mother-in-law, who misunderstood Jae-hae. Even if she was aggrieved, she didn't dare to speak up. But the mother-in-law hated this daughter-in-law even more. At home, she was bored. Jae-hae's adoptive mother was looking through the landlord's eldest sister's photo album when she suddenly found a photo of what looked like her husband's old lover in front of a restaurant. She secretly took a photo of the two sisters and called her aunt to confirm, and learned that the eldest sister was that woman. The adoptive mother was very angry when she held the photo and questioned Alan's mother. Alan's mother saw this and had no choice but to stop deceiving her. The adoptive mother really couldn't accept the woman who had tormented her for 27 years and was still living under the same roof as her as if nothing had happened. Jin-suk explained that she hadn't meant to hide the truth from her. The adoptive mother remembered the strange things she had encountered before and after meeting Jin-suk and realized that they were family. She was just an idiot who had been kept in the dark. The adoptive mother could only take out all her anger on Jae-hae. She slapped her angrily. Jae-hae begged for her forgiveness, but her adoptive mother just wouldn't listen. Even if she fainted on the street, she wouldn't continue living here, no matter how many people tried to stop her. In the end, her adoptive mother just got into the car and drove away. When she got home, Jae-hae's mood was such that she couldn't cook, but her mother just wouldn't agree to her helping Jae-hae, which made Jae-jun feel very bad. He was afraid that Jae-hae wouldn't be able to handle it. On the other side, Hyun caught Alan's man who was sent to take photos of her on the spot, and threatened to go to the police before letting the man escape. Hyun told Alan that she had nothing to do with Sehun's divorce. She told Alan to think about her child and stop doing bad things, and accused Alan of not being qualified to be a mother. At the same time, she warned her not to send people to follow her or she would really be unkind to her. Mom also kept persuading Alan to give up someone who hates her so much. Even if the two of them get together, they won't be happy. But Alan can't hear anything right now. She was really going crazy. One day, Alan accidentally saw the baby's father bringing another woman to a hotel. She dragged her luggage and hurriedly tried to catch them in the act, but she accidentally fell heavily down the stairs. Alan hurried to the hospital for a checkup. Fortunately, the baby was safe and sound. She was so afraid of losing the baby again. An angry Alan saw Jae-hae in her house again as soon as she returned. She vented all her anger on Jae-hae, because the happier she saw her in Jae-jun, the more sad she became. Jae-hae, who was already tired, had to deal with Alan's unreasonable behavior. It was hard for her mother to see. Jin-suk decided to tell her two daughters that Jae-hae was their older sister. She told them about how their grandmother had separated them from their mother when they were born. She told them about how the two of them had been forced to give up their child. When Alan heard this, she couldn't accept it. She desperately blamed her mother. Mina hoped that her sister could understand her mother's difficulties. She understood how she felt when she was robbed of her daughter. Alan doesn't blame her mother for her past. She just hates Jae-hae and her mother's defense of Jae-hae. This is unbearable to her, and she hates even more having this fateful relationship with Jae-hae. Knowing the relationship between Alan and Jae-hae, Alan angrily decided to move to a hotel. Her adoptive mother quietly returned to the rental house, which surprised everyone. She told Jin-suk, "You and your daughter have been deceiving yourselves. I have returned this time to take revenge on you. Let you repay the favor of raising you for more than 20 years. Jin-suk is also very happy that she should repay her adoptive mother for raising Jae-hae, and the mother-in-law is very satisfied with Hyun. She tells her husband about Hyun's fondness for Sehun. The family prepares a sumptuous dinner to invite Hyun to their home. Hyun always manages to please everyone and makes everyone very happy. Jae-hae also likes Hyun. But what about Alan? Christmas is here in no time. Alin goes to the hospital because her stomach is reacting. She finally gave birth to a boy. Upon hearing the news, the chairman asked his wife to go to the hospital to visit. After all, Alan's child is also our family's first grandchild. The mother-in-law coldly sent Alan the hospital fees, but she still couldn't let go. Sihoon was having a pleasant candlelight dinner with Hyan. The birth of the baby has changed everyone's hearts. Sihoon's heart is even more uncomfortable. The mother-in-law really wants to bring the child back to raise him, but she doesn't have the qualifications. Hyan is willing to stay with Sihoon even though she knows about the baby, but the birth of the baby has still caused subtle changes in her heart. Because of the baby, Hyan feels estranged from Sihoon. A weekend reunion is being held for university alumni. Jae-hai really wants to go, but she has just annoyed her mother-in-law, so it is hard to convince her to let her go out. The senior invites Jae-hai to definitely come to the university reunion, but Jae-hai really has no way to. Jae-hai tells her senior about her difficulties in attending the reunion. Unexpectedly, her mother-in-law arrives behind her. She doesn't expect her daughter-in-law to complain about her to outsiders when she is at home. She is very angry and asks Jae-hai if she has said more bad things about her outside. Jae-hai's tears of grievance well up in her eyes. When her father-in-law returns home and sees that Jae-hai has been scolded by his wife, he doesn't understand why his wife doesn't like such a good daughter-in-law. The mother-in-law said that Jae-hai must listen to her like Alin used to do in order to please her. Sihoon's mother couldn't help but see her grandson once a month, so she bought a stroller and came to Alin's house to watch the baby. As soon as she entered the door, she heard the baby crying. She couldn't help but go in and hug the baby. Alin angrily came over and snatched it away. The mother-in-law was angry at Alin and could only go home and vent her anger on Jae-hai. She forced her to give birth to a grandchild as soon as possible. However, Jae-hai has been trying to get pregnant for over a year and there has been no movement. Her mother-in-law is becoming more and more anxious, and she is becoming more and more dissatisfied with Jae-hai. Sihoon and Hyan are also about to get engaged. However, Sihoon is still a little worried that Hyan cannot accept the existence of children. Hyan is also trying very hard to adapt to Sihoon's everything. In order to make Jae-hai pregnant, her mother-in-law secretly put the baby's clothes under the couple's bedding. She even came to check to see if they had been thrown away. This made Jae-jun feel that his mother was really going too far. His mother-in-law also forced Jae-hai to go to the mountains on weekends to pray for a child. She heard that there was a lucky stone there, but Jae-hai really couldn't miss the seminar on weekends. She hoped to go next time. His mother-in-law told her that it was a once-a-year opportunity. Don't you know which is more important? Jae-jun felt that it was the modern age, but his mother was still so superstitious. His mother-in-law said that it was all for the sake of you two. Stop talking nonsense. Jae-hai feels sad about her mother-in-law's aggressive attitude. After getting married for so long, she has done everything she can, but her mother-in-law still can't accept her. Jae-jun doesn't want Jae-hai to be sad, so he can only try to persuade his mother to let Jae-hai go to the seminar. Unexpectedly, his mother still won't relent. She thinks that Jae-hai is not a good daughter-in-law. She doesn't let her work, but she wants her to have children. Everything is against her. This makes her feel very uncomfortable. On Sihoon and Hyan's engagement day, the parents of both families were very optimistic about them. They hadn't seen each other for many years, and now they were getting together because of their children. Hyan decided to continue working after marriage. Her mother-in-law took this opportunity to start complaining again. Our family's daughters-in-law are not allowed to work in principle, but now this principle no longer exists. Hyan's mother: our daughter has studied a lot. It seems a bit of a waste if she is only allowed to stay at home and do housework. Her mother-in-law was also very embarrassed while listening. Alin was still sad to learn that Sihoon was engaged. She came to her mother and asked if she had known about it in advance. Her mother told her that it was no longer her business. Even if he got married twice or 3 times, it would have nothing to do with you. Alin angrily slammed the door and left. Hyan was very happy that Sihoon had finally become engaged to her. The two of them also promised each other eternal love. But her mother was still angry that Hyan had hidden the fact that Sihoon had a child from her, thinking that her daughter has just entered the door and is about to become a stepmother. She is sad, and Alin's long-planned gym has finally opened, allowing her best friend and younger sister to be confident in her opening. Learning that Alin's gym has opened, Jae-hai hurried to congratulate her, but Alin was not at all grateful, and her attitude towards Jae-hai was very cold. Seeing Jae-hai and her mother laughing and chatting made her even more unhappy. Jae-hai, in order to make her mother-in-law happy with her, she volunteered to quit her job and become a housewife. Seeing Jae-hai change her mind also relieved her mother. Jae-jun was surprised to hear his mother praise his wife when he got home. He thought it was because Jae-hai had done well today, but he didn't realize it was because she had agreed to quit her job. Jae-jun felt very sad when he heard Jae-hai's response. Jae-hai looked at the photos of the horse farm on her phone. Although she was reluctant, she still submitted her resignation. Her colleagues also felt very sorry for her. Before leaving, Jae-hai said goodbye to the horse she had taken care of. Jae-jun didn't know how to comfort Jae-hai. He specially prepared a sumptuous lunch for Jae-hai. He also performed magic tricks for Jae-hai. Jae-hai also revealed a long-lost smile. Jae-jun skillfully produced his salary card and handed it to Jae-hai to keep. Looking at the man in front of her who loved her so much, she suddenly felt that it was all worth it. no matter how hard it was. After Jai-hai quit her job, her mother-in-law's attitude towards her completely changed for the better. She told her to take care of her health and get ready to conceive. That day, Alan was home alone with her child, and in the blink of an eye while she was hanging laundry, the child opened the door mischievously and ran outside. Alan saw that the door was open and immediately chased after her son, but it was too late. Her son was frightened by a speeding motorcycle and fell to the ground, injuring himself. Alan hurriedly took her child to the hospital. Fortunately, her son only suffered some minor injuries and was not seriously injured. Si-hoon and Alan confirmed the time to pick up their son, and only then did they realize that the child had been injured. The mother-in-law rushed angrily to Alan's house and was heartbroken when she saw her injured grandson. She scolds Alan for not being able to take care of the child. Jae-jun takes Jai-hai on a date for the whole day. Although they are very happy, seeing the warmth of other families with 3 members still makes Jai-hai a little sad. Jai-hai also really wants a child. Because of the way things are now, it makes her heart very tired. Jai-hai tells her adoptive mother about quitting her job. However, her adoptive mother doesn't care about Jai-hai at all. Instead, she is worried about how she will pay for her living expenses in the future. Jai-hai is so tired that she finally blames her mother. Do I have to get a divorce for her? In order to please her mother-in-law, Jai-hai secretly goes to the hospital for a checkup. She has nowhere to vent her anger, so she can only tell her best friend about her grievances. Her mother-in-law, who misses her grandson, comes to the Alan's house. Alan has gone to work and Alan's mother is not at home. She can't leave her grandson unattended, so she forcibly takes him home. Alan learns that her son has been taken away by Si-hoon's mother. She calls to warn Si-hoon that she will apply for a restraining order, and then hurriedly went to the house to take her son away. Alan believes that Si-hoon's mother is kidnapping Si-hoon. Si-hoon returns and sees Alan and her mother arguing fiercely. She pulls Alan away and sends her home, but it makes Hyun very unhappy. Si-hoon actually helps Alan. Hyun tells Si-hoon that watching him take Alan away feels like an insult to her. Jae-jun arranges for Jai-hai to meet her mother in order to make her happy. Jai-hai's mother is very grateful to her son-in-law for what he has done, but Jai-hai is still anxious about the baby. She can only go for another checkup. The doctor tells Jai-hai that she may find it difficult to get pregnant. Hearing this result, Jai-hai is shocked, sad. She comes alone to the river and weeps silently. Jae-jun can't get in touch with Jai-hai and can only send her a message. No matter what the doctor said, he will face it together with her. But Jai-hai still doesn't reply. Jae-jun couldn't get in touch with Jai-hai for a whole day, and he was worried that he couldn't breathe. When he finally found Jai-hai, he just wanted to give her a hug to support her. Jae-jun comforted her, saying that the two of them didn't get married just for the sake of having a child, so he told Jai-hai to just be happy every day with him. Jae-jun lied to his mother for Jai-hai's sake, but he didn't expect that as soon as he returned, his mother wanted Jai-hai to go to the gynecologist with her. Jai-hai's mood was difficult to calm down for a while. Jae-jun could only keep lying for Jai-hai and hide the results of the examination from his mother. Seeing his wife so upset, he could only ask his brother to accompany Jai-hai on a trip to cheer her up. He hoped that Jai-hai could quickly adjust her mentality. Jae-jun carefully planned the itinerary, which touched Jai-hai, but Jai-hai really wasn't in the mood. No matter how reasonable Jae-jun's words were, Jai-hai didn't want to go on a trip. Jae-jun could only repeatedly assure Jai-hai that it was okay not to have children, and even made up a good reason for her to explain to her parents and let Jai-hai go out for a few days, so that Jai-hai dared not say anything and could only obey her husband's arrangements. Although Jae-jun took good care of Jai-hai's feelings, the blow of being unable to get pregnant was still very great for her. Jai-hai really couldn't bear it anymore and told her mother about her inability to get pregnant, finding someone to pour out her heart's pain to. Otherwise, I'm really going to go crazy. But this news made her mother as sad as Jai-hai. After many days, the mother-in-law finally saw her eldest grandson again. She was so happy that she really wanted to raise her grandson herself. Hyun took the initiative to get close to the child, so she accompanied Si-hoon to take the child out to play. It was like a happy family of 3. I don't know if this stepmother did it on purpose or unintentionally. When Si-hoon answered the phone at work, Hyun was looking down at the toys, completely unaware that the child next to her had already left. When she turned around and realized that the child was gone, she was completely panicked. She hurriedly found Si-hoon and searched for the child together. The two of them anxiously searched for the child in the supermarket. At this time, Alan received a phone call from a supermarket employee asking her to come to the manager's office to pick up the child. Hearing this, Alan's head instantly exploded. Fortunately, she had engraved the contact person and phone number on a necklace. Otherwise, the child still doesn't know what will happen now. Hyun kept blaming herself for losing the child for a little while, but Alan simply could not forgive Hyun, and thought she did it on purpose. She gave her a hard slap. When Alan once again wanted to hit Hyun again, Si-hoon stopped her. The mother-in-law was very angry when she saw that Jai-hai could not give birth. She pointed out 2 ways for Jai-hai, either divorce or find a surrogate. Jai-hai couldn't believe her mother-in-law would have such an absurd idea. She firmly disagreed. But her mother-in-law was very persistent. Her mother-in-law wanted to see her son have no descendants. Her father-in-law suggested that she go to work to ease her mood, but her mother-in-law hated her even more for it. She was very unhappy that both her husband and son were on Jaihai's side. Jaihai also received notice that she could return to work. She was very happy and told her mother-in-law. Unexpectedly, her mother-in-law poured a bucket of cold water on her, thinking that she doesn't care at all about whether or not she can have children. Jaihai was provoked by her mother-in-law's words. She asked her mother-in-law to understand. Saddened, because she was more saddened than her mother-in-law by the fact that she could not have children. That day Sihun left work to be with his child. He didn't tell Hyan, and suddenly Hyan felt neglected. The feelings in her heart slowly changed. Because of Jaihai's inability to bear children, her mother-in-law deliberately asked Hyan to go to the hospital for a premarital examination. Hyan was a little surprised. She had never thought that her mother-in-law would be so conservative, so she could understand Jaihai's difficulties even more. Jae-jun came home and found that Jaihai was in a strange state. After repeated questioning, Jaihai had no choice but to tell him that her mother-in-law wanted to find a surrogate. Jae-jun was very sad that his mother had treated Jaihai like this. He didn't want Jaihai to be sad, so he decided that he could only leave his mother and pack his bags to leave home. Seeing Jae-jun's actions made his mother so angry that she couldn't say a word. Jae-jun took Jaihai, who had returned to work, directly to the apartment. Jaihai was very uneasy about this, but she couldn't persuade Jae-jun either. Her mother-in-law couldn't stand it at home and decided to come and lecture Jaihai. Unexpectedly, she happened to run into Jinsuk, who had come to give Jaihai her favorite side dish. Unintentionally, she seemed to hear Jaihai call Jinsuk mother. This took her by surprise and she didn't know what to do. Under her mother-in-law's persistent questioning, Jinsuk could only admit that Jaihai was her biological daughter. Her mother-in-law thought that Jinsuk's family were all liars, and accused her of marrying off both of her daughters to her two sons. Her mother-in-law was already angry enough about the fact that Jaihai was infertile, and she couldn't accept the fact that Jaihai and Alan were sisters. Seeing her mother-in-law treat Jaihai like this really made her mother feel sad. She said sadly that even if Jae-jun loved Jaihai, he could not live in such a family. When he returned home, he saw Jaihai crying with his mother-in-law. Jae-jun then realized that his mother-in-law was sad because of the wrongs done to Jaihai. His mother-in-law told Jae-jun, "Your mother blames Jaihai for everything." His mother-in-law's harsh words made Jaihai's adoptive mother unable to bear it, and she argued with her. Jinsuk never imagined that her mother-in-law could say such vicious things. Both mothers were humiliated by their mother-in-law, and Jaihai saw it all. She angrily blamed her mother-in-law for insulting her mother like this. Her mother-in-law blamed her, saying that if she had listened to her and agreed to be a surrogate, none of this would have happened. Her mother felt that with such a mother-in-law, Jaihai could never be happy, so she persuaded Jaihai and Jae-jun to go live abroad. Jaihai dares not tell Jae-jun about her mother-in-law's noisy visits, and can only cry alone in secret. Meanwhile, Hyan decides to marry Sihun early and hold the wedding in Seoul. Although Sihun is very happy, his heart is filled with more worries about their child. Jae-jun works hard to be able to go abroad with Jaihai sooner. However, Jaihai asks Jae-jun to let her go. Jae-jun thought she wanted to go out for a walk. Jaihai very carefully proposed to divorce. She hoped Jae-jun would understand how difficult it was for her to make this decision, and Jae-jun thought that without Jaihai he simply could not live. He hoped Jaihai would reconsider, but Jaihai still decided to pack her things and move. Jae-jun came home from work and found the house empty. There was only a note from Jaihai saying she was leaving. He looked everywhere but couldn't find Jaihai. Jaihai was heartbroken and helpless. She felt like she was suffocating. Jae-jun told his mother that Jaihai had broken up with him just as she had wished, so Jae-jun was completely disappointed in his mother and decided not to see her anymore in the future. After losing Jaihai and breaking up, Jae-jun had been holed up at home drinking all day. His father was also very sad about this and questioned his wife why she had treated her son like this, but his mother-in-law couldn't hear anything at the moment. After work, Sihun went to pick up his son but couldn't find Alan. Alan was being bullied by a couple next door in front of the gym. The man came up and tried to hit him, but fortunately Sihun arrived in time to help Alan deal with the couple. Sihun's appearance also made the customers at the gym very envious. Alan has a handsome and rich husband. Hyan accidentally found out about this. She was very unhappy to learn that Sihun claimed to be Alan's husband. She can't accept being called that at all. Sihun also expressed his understanding and assured Hyan that it would never happen again, but the seed in Hyan's heart is also slowly sprouting. The evil mother-in-law finally gave Jaihai a large sum of money as compensation, but this only made Jaihai more embarrassed. She just hopes that she will stop harassing her, so that she can live her life quietly as she wishes. Her sister told Jae-jun that her mother took the money and went to see Jaihai. Jae-jun decides to go through with the divorce with Jaihai right away, so that his mother won't have any more excuses to go to Jaihai. When the mother-in-law finds out that Jae-jun knows that she went to Jaihai, she immediately calls Jaihai to complain, and she finds out that her daughter told Jae-jun, but she is still very pleased that her son is getting a divorce soon. Jae-hye and Jae-jun go through with the divorce. The sad Jae-jun can only go to the restaurant to cook. Only by being busy can his heart not be so sad. And Jae-hye went to the cabaret and kept singing to vent her pain. Si-hoon couldn't find his brother anywhere and could only tell his father. In the end, his father found Jae-jun in the kitchen of the restaurant and asked him to cook for him. His father ate spaghetti made by his son for the first time, and apologized to Jae-jun for stopping him from giving up cooking. Jae-hye returned home saddened. Her mother comforted her tenderly, but her adoptive mother only told her to go and demand alimony, which made Jae-hye, who was already sad, even more sad. Alin went to Si-hoon's company because of her child, which made Hyun very unhappy and thought that Alin was insulting her. Si-hoon was also very troubled because the man who had committed violence against Alin was asking him for money again, so he had to install surveillance cameras in Alin's gym. This made Hyun very unhappy when she found out. She didn't want Si-hoon to keep getting involved with Alin's affairs. She thought Si-hoon was too concerned about Alin's affairs. Si-hoon's mother also kept pestering him about it. Si-hoon told his mother to stop looking for Alin to take his son away, but his mother just wouldn't take no for an answer. The next day, his father took a sum of money and asked Jae-jun to give it to Jae-hye. He didn't want it to be seen as consolation money, but just as a red packet from his father to Jae-hye. But Jae-hye would not take it. She even went to her father-in-law to return the money. Jae-hye was very grateful that her father-in-law had thought of her so well, but she had deeply loved Jae-jun. Her father-in-law understood Jae-hye's feelings and agreed to keep the money for her for the time being. Her mother had not seen Jae-jun for a long time and was worried. She went to the apartment, but she saw a photo of Jae-hye and Jae-jun on the bedside table. She was furious and suspected that Jae-hye and Jae-jun's divorce was a sham, because Jae-hye had refused her money, and even taken intimate photos with Jae-jun, which she could not believe. Her mother-in-law insisted that Jae-hye must personally guarantee that she would not see Jae-jun. Jae-hye explained to her the reason for meeting Jae-jun, but her mother-in-law still wanted her to promise that even if she met Jae-jun on the street, she would pretend to be strangers. It's really annoying to meet such a strange mother-in-law. Jae-jun has already divorced his wife as his mother wished, but his mother is still worried and wants to pack up Jae-jun's things and move back in with him. Jae-jun feels that his mother is increasingly interfering in his life, and he has repeatedly made it clear that he will never get back together with Jae-hye, because he does not want Jae-hye to be his mother's daughter-in-law. Jae-jun warns his mother that if she goes to see Jae-hye again, she will never be forgiven in this life. The sad Jae-jun can only drown his sorrows in alcohol alone, but the wound in his heart can only be healed by Jae-hye. Although he shouldn't have done so, Jae-jun still called Jae-hye. Neither of them spoke, but they could both feel each other's hearts. The mother-in-law asked her precious grandson to stay at her house for one night. Alin readily agreed. The child was also very happy to stay. The child even took advantage of the fact that his grandmother was asleep to go to his father's room by himself and sleep with him. This made Si-hoon increasingly unable to part with the child. Hyun, however, tells him that his mother-in-law wants to use special means to seize custody of the child. She finds her mother-in-law's thoughts terrifying and wants Si-hoon to promise to separate the family after they get married. The busybody mother-in-law is still worried that Jae-hye will go after her son again. She goes to where Jae-hye works to warn her that if she meets her son again, she will make Jae-hye unable to keep her job. Her best friend is very angry at what her mother-in-law has done to Jae-hye. She wants Jae-hye to continue seeing Jae-jun. Her friend is anxious and angry, not knowing how to help Jae-hye. She doesn't want Jae-hye to keep getting bullied by her mother-in-law like this. Jae-jun, who is overly concerned, goes to the horse farm to secretly see Jae-hye and finds out that his mother has come to see her more than once. Jae-jun can't stand his mother's behavior anymore and goes home to scold her loudly. He even threatens to die to make his mother stop hurting Jae-hye. Jae-jun is utterly disappointed in his mother's behavior. He resigns from his job and decides to go abroad. His father doesn't understand why his son has made such a decision. Jae-jun tells his father everything about how his mother treats Jae-hye. He can no longer bear to see his mother torment Jae-hye. The only way his mother can feel at ease is if he disappears or dies. After hearing these words, even his father can't stop him. Jae-jun sees a film about Africa on the roadside, and remembered the promise he had made with Jae-hye to go to Africa and volunteer, so he decided to sign up as a volunteer. When his mother found out that Jae-jun was going abroad, she was furious. She thought that Jae-jun was doing it just to make her feel bad. Jae-jun told his mother that he was leaving just so that she wouldn't torment Jae-hye anymore. Since he couldn't protect her, the only thing he could do was to leave. Jae-jun's words made his mother very sad. In her anger, she even told him never to come home again. Jae-hye knew that Jae-jun had secretly come to see her. She also knew that Jae-jun was leaving because of her, but she could do nothing about it and could only secretly grieve in her heart. The mother-in-law demanded that Hyun must follow her plan to get married and have children. Hyun proposed to get married and live separately and postpone the decision to have children, but her mother-in-law rejected each one. Hyun pondered for a long time and decided to reconsider marrying Si-hoon, because she had seen the scheming of her mother-in-law. She was afraid. She didn't want to live a life of compromise like Alin and Jae-hye. Jae-jun could never let go of Jae-hye. Before leaving, he specifically asked his senior to take care of Jae-hye. Jae-jun said goodbye to his father and set off. Although his father was sad, There was nothing he could do. My sister was at home telling my mother that Jae-jun had already flown. When my mother heard the news, it was like a thunderbolt. She was so angry that she had a cerebral hemorrhage and fainted. Fortunately, she was rescued in time and saved her life. After experiencing life and death, her mother-in-law finally began to reflect on herself and missed her son even more. She dragged her weak body to Jae-jun's apartment to live there. Thinking about what her son had said to her, she felt especially sad. Her mother's heart was also worried that Jae-jun was suffering in Africa. For the first time, she cried and regretted forcing her son to leave. Hyeon also decided to go to Hawaii for a while to rest and calm down and think about her marriage to Sehun. Sehun had to wait for her to return in silence. However, when she returned, Hyeon looked calm. She told Sehun very seriously that she wanted to dissolve the marriage contract because she could not get along with Sehun's mother, and she had already discussed it with her parents. So Hyeon hoped Sehun could understand her and respect her choice. Sehun told Hyeon that her mother was sick and hoped she could keep the two of them breaking off the marriage contract a secret. Hyeon tells Sehun that she loves him very much, but she just can't marry him. At the same time, she wishes Sehun happiness. Hyeon doesn't want to see Sehun's mother again. She just says that she's going back to Hawaii and won't be back. Her mother-in-law is very surprised to hear this. Be careful on the road. Faced with her mother-in-law's questioning, Sehun can only tell her the reason for breaking up with Hyeon. Her mother-in-law knows that Hyeon doesn't want to marry her son because of her. Once again, she feels a blow to her heart. 2 years later, Jae-jun completed his trip to Africa and returned to the country. His mother, who had caused the misfortunes of her two sons' marriages, completely changed herself, and Jae-jun no longer resented her. He just wanted to say sorry to his mother. Since Jae-jun left, Jae-hae often went to the park where Jae-jun stayed for a long time, but she didn't expect to see Jae-jun in front of her. She thought she was dreaming, and was very excited to confirm that the man she had been thinking about was really there. But she couldn't hug him and the two of them could only chat calmly. Drinking. Jae-jun is back and the family can finally have a reunion dinner, but his sister is saddened by the fact that both of his younger brothers are still single, and her mother is feeling guilty again because she is the reason her two sons are like this. Alin learns that Jae-jun has returned, and she knows that Jae-hae has never let go of her feelings for him, and persuades Jae-hae to keep Jae-jun this time and not let him go again. The sad Jae-jun goes to the pub alone to drown his sorrows in alcohol, and unknowingly arrives at the place where he used to go on dates with her. The two have suppressed their feelings for each other for so long. Jae-hae and Jae-jun can no longer hold back their thoughts for each other and embrace tightly. When he woke up in the morning, Jae-jun thought he had been dreaming last night. He hurriedly got up and looked around the room, and saw Jae-hae preparing a heartwarming breakfast for him. He hugged her tightly, afraid that she would leave. After so much time and so many experiences, Jae-jun still believes that the most important person in his life is Jae-hae, so he proposed to get back married. But Jae-hae still didn't want to. After all, she is a woman who cannot bear children. Jae-jun hoped that Jae-hae could wait for him to convince his family, and this time, his mother sincerely hoped that Jae-jun could be happy and would not interfere anymore. Jae-jun and Jae-hae got back together with the consent of their parents, and finally adopted a child from an orphanage. Okay, that's the end of today's story. Thank you for your support and company. See you next time.